15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's over. The Philadelphia Eagles have won Super Bowl 59. They have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22. It's their second Super Bowl win in 7 years.
On Eagles radio, and the Eagles went in trying to prevent history. They ended up making it themselves. They're the Super Bowl champs. It's Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff with you. I'm here in the New York studios. Perloff still in the Big Easy. Congratulations to your birds. You're fresh off of the Eagles victory party. How does this feel?
Maggie, you don't want to be here right now. It is Eagles territory down here in New Orleans. I just did a 5-minute walk from the hotel to the studio. I saw 10 Eagles players, hundreds of Eagles fans still up partying. It's unbelievable how Philly basically took over the Big Easy.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you can see on TV, Pearl, that the Eagles fans seem like they took over not just the city, but also the stadium. You got to tell us, and we're going to get more flavor from you as the morning goes on about what you saw boots on the ground. But when did the fan base really start to believe? Like, was there a play? Was there a moment? Because I feel like I had my moment when I knew the game was over, but what was yours?
Oh, I talked to dozens of Eagles fans before. Not a single one thought they were going to lose the game. Everybody thought the Eagles had a big advantage. I know, Maggie, that sounds like Monday morning quarterback. All the fans thought they were going to win. I asked everybody, what do you expect? They were like, Eagles by at least a touchdown. So they believed. During the game, you always have the Chiefs magic, but you could see from the get-go. I know this is going to sound, again, like Monday morning quarterback. You could see from the get-go, the Chiefs offense had no plan, no speed. It was easy pickings for the Eagles defense. So I don't even know when it was a game. If you have a moment, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the moment when I think that this thing was just beyond. Because, listen, you still, even though the Chiefs were getting whomped, your Eagles were all over Mahomes. They couldn't get any semblance of a run game going, let alone getting anything to any of their playmakers. Mahomes turning the ball over, final score 40-22. Did not feel that close, as we all know from watching it. The Chiefs added a little some garbage points in garbage time. But I'll tell you when I thought it was lost, Pearl, and when I knew you guys had it. And it was not just after the Cooper DeJean pick six, because that made it 17-0. But you know what? We've seen the Chiefs. This is like their MO. They get down double digits in Super Bowls and find a way to come back. Those might have been the worst 3 plays put together in a row that I've ever seen from Patrick Mahomes ever. It's like the moment you find out your parents are just people, it's like, whoa, he's just like a mortal person. 2 sacks and then a pick 6. Like, we never see Mahomes do that. But that wasn't the moment. That made it 17-0. I'm like, okay, how do they respond? How do they respond? It's 17-0. You're Patrick Mahomes. You just threw a pick 6 to a rookie in the Super Bowl. Had you fooled. How do you respond? And they went 3 and out. And I was like, that's it. I don't think if they were going to do something there, if Mahomes was going to get it together, I thought that was going to be when they showed a little backbone. That's when you show that you've been in this game. That's when you show that you can't let this thing get away from you. And they went 3 and out. I'm like, they've got nothing. How did the Eagles put on this incredible, defensive performance? I'd love to get your thoughts on this because you were watching it live.
Yeah, you said show a little backbone. What plays would you have called, Maggie? You have one receiver who can run at all, and that's Xavier Worthy. You have a washed tight end, 2 washed tight ends. You have a washed former Pro Bowl wide receiver. Your run game, you said they couldn't establish a run game. They didn't even have a chance to hand the ball off. They had 1 carry through half the game.
I know.
There was nothing. There was nowhere for them to go. This is going to sound mean, Mag, and I'm sorry. I don't know how the Bills lost to this team. They do not have an offensive weapon at all. And it's not on Mahomes. Mahomes dropped back. There was no one to throw to because the Eagles didn't blitz. Where was he going to throw? I'm not sure you blame him. The sacks, there was just absolutely nowhere to go. There were a couple plays where he had guys, but I certainly didn't see them.
You know what? It's funny. There were drops. I mean, guys were letting him down. He was scrambling. I mean, the Eagles defense did this from the secondary to the defensive line. I mean, just completely overwhelmed the Kansas City offensive line, especially up the middle.
Yep.
I mean, those guards were they were just beyond overmatched. But I guess
absolutely.
What I was a little surprised because, to be honest, and we're not even 24 hours from this thing, but Andy Reid is getting absolutely no blame whatsoever. And I'm a little bit surprised, or maybe not what I'm seeing. Andy Reid they never had a pivot. And I guess the only thing that maybe I would have liked to see, and we never saw it, is they couldn't even try to do anything a little side to side. Like, not even trying to get some of your running backs out in the pass game, trying to just do any kind of pre-snap motion. All that stuff we saw with Tyreek Hill when he's running all over the backfield before the play even starts. There was none of that. Was Andy Reid in a coma yesterday? It felt like he had the flu like I did last week in New Orleans. He looked dazed and just totally out of it.
Well, I actually didn't see the TV game. I was there. A lot of people told me on TV that Andy did look sick. Did anybody report on that? I saw him after the game. He looked fine.
No,
so
I said he looked sick in our group chat. He just looked dazed to me.
Yeah.
Like, they looked over. I never felt like the camera, and this is, again, we're getting on TV whatever Fox wants to give to us. I saw him huddling a little bit, I guess, with Kelsey and maybe with Mahomes at one point. Didn't seem like maybe Nagy, like were there conversations? He was just like staring straight ahead, or he was, into the Cheesecake Factory menu of plays, but there was nothing on that play sheet apparently that they had that could give him a spark.
But why would they blame? It's another situation. Back to the basic problem, their personnel was way outmatched.
Yep.
I know, first of all, if you're going to blame Andy Reid for something, it's that annoying Fumble Rooski commercial. America loves Andy Reid. There's no reason to blame him. Again, what you sit there and you blame Andy Reid. What calls were you going to make, Maggie? There's just nothing. There was no side to side. The Eagles had so much more speed on defense than the Chiefs had on offense. Like, it was varsity versus the JV. I was shocked to watch the Chiefs receivers go out for patterns. By the time they broke, the time they even made a move, somebody was on Mahomes every single time.
It was a masterclass by the Eagles. It really was. I mean, and it was the X's and O's. It was the Jimmies and the Joe. It was every single part of this. And another way that I'll blame Andy Reid here is, and maybe it's not fully Reid, but they also didn't look ready to go. The Eagles, they looked flat. And every other time, if there was any other coach over there, even Belichick, I think, we would say, coach didn't have him ready to go. You're on the precipice of history here. You're about to be on the doorstep. And instead, as I said, the Eagles made history in every which way. I mean, they were putting on a performance, especially that first half. That might have been one of the best first halves in the history of the Super Bowl. And I actually do have some numbers to back that up. I mean, it was just a thumping. And I have to imagine, I know, Pearl, you said it was not about the Chiefs. You said that all week for the Eagles fans and for the Eagles faithful. And I didn't believe you, but actually listening to the Eagles players yesterday, it was more about revenge from 2 years ago, it seems like, than it was actually about stopping the three-peat. So I'll give that to you.
I did see it. The first headline on ESPN.com was Eagles used three-peat as motivation, as you said it would. But then I read every quote, and the Eagles players were asked, did you use the three-peat as motivation to come out and play? How do you answer that question except, yes, of course I did. Every Eagles player, I'm not sure that wasn't overblown a little bit, but you were right. I will give you credit for that. But there was one clear MVP of the game. It was not Jalen Hurts. It was not Josh Sweat. It was not anybody on the field. It was GM Howie Roseman. And that gets to my point, Maggie. He built the better team.
Yep.
The Chiefs, I think, had been on fumes personnel-wise because you know why you don't three-peat? Because you lose great players like Tyreek Hill and all their other players that they've lost. And I think they had just used guile to get to this point. But then you saw a fully stacked, at the top of their powers, a maxed-out salary cap with Saquon Barkley in that offensive line. I think it was, you said Jimmy's and the Joes of the coaching. I think it was the Jimmy's and the Joes.
Yep.
I do not blame Andy Reid. Again, I'm an apologist. I do not blame Patrick Mahomes either. I think the Eagles just had too many young, talented defensive players. And Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, was by far the MVP of the game to me.
Well, I mean, maybe the Chiefs have to start looking back at drafting offensive linemen in the first round. And I know they're always picking late in the first round, and that comes with the spoils of winning. But you can't let Mahomes off the hook like this, Pearl. I know
What
you
are you
love
talking about? What was he supposed to do?
He threw 2 horrible interceptions. And you know what you have to do? You got to throw those away. And even he said so after the game. Like, you cannot put your team in that kind of hole because, to be fair, I know this team went 15-2. They were not good enough to overcome a double-digit deficit, obviously, right? And things just started to snowball downhill on them. And those 2 interceptions were just bad.
I mean, he was desperate.
One was a
at that
pick
point.
6, and the other basically took the ball to the 5, and they scored two plays later.
Well, the Zach Bond play, I mean, that was just Zach Bond as Superman. I don't know.
He did lay out like Superman.
Yeah, how he got to that ball. I think Mahomes thought he was throwing it away, but he was so desperate. He had to try to make plays downfield at that point, at every point. Also, Mahomes almost threw an interception earlier. Remember when 2 Eagles players were there and it got caught up at the sideline?
To Hollywood Brown,
Mahomes, yeah, and then finally Mahomes makes one good play. And I'm not sure what the TV footage saw, but DeAndre Hopkins slipped, which would have been right before the half, finally gotten some rhythm. And you did see at the end in garbage time, Mahomes played like Mahomes. But that's just because the Eagles sort of caught off the dogs. Honestly, Mahomes was in trouble. I understand everyone's going to blame him, but I'm sure when you look at the film, it's the line. It's the line and the fact that the receivers just took forever to get into any kind of open space. And there was no open space to be had because they didn't have to blitz. So there was so much coverage.
Yeah, the DeAndre Hopkins drop, you're right. I mean, that was unforgivable because there was a moment where you felt like, all right, if the Chiefs can just score before halftime, maybe they get something going here. But they couldn't. They got shut out. And I did want to give you some numbers about the halftime. So this was the second largest halftime scoring margin in the history of the Super Bowl, second only to Washington over Denver in 1988. That was 35-10 at halftime. 1990, San Francisco led Denver 27-3. 86, it was the vaunted, it was the Bears 23 over New England to 3 at the half. And then 82, San Francisco was leading Cincinnati 20-0. I mean, Pearl, it was historic. It was historic what your Eagles did. And, we got a couple poll questions that we want to put out there for people. Number one, the Chiefs' fatigue was real. We talked about it a lot during the week and leading up to the game. Did it feel good to watch them lose? Sometimes you want something and you wish for something and then it happens and maybe it doesn't feel as good as you thought. So for the audience out there, did it feel good to watch them get smacked around a little bit? That'd be number one. And then number two, we have to pause the GOAT debate, right?
No. Why?
Because Brady has 7 Super Bowl rings. Mahomes winning 3 in a row would have been this sort of, I'm not going to say cheat code in like a negative way, but it would have been a little bit of a shortcut to get to the top of the line because it would have been something that no one ever did.
Yeah. Brady would have gotten destroyed in that game. Destroyed.
Well, okay, we saw what happened with Brady. He won 3 Super Bowls and lost to the Giants in 2007, and a lot of people still thought Montana was the GOAT after that because Montana had never lost in a Super Bowl, right?
Right, but Brady had never won. He'd won the first three when he wasn't the key part of those victories, at least the first one especially.
That's true.
I think that's a distinction. Honestly, I know that was one of the worst quarterback performances you'll ever see, but again, it was similar to the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. Where Mahomes, do we blame Mahomes for that loss? No, we didn't because the line was awful.
Yeah, but that line was like missing guys. They actually did get some.
So was this line.
Well, no, but they did. They shuffled the deck on that line and still continued to win. Number one and two. Yeah, I mean they were bad, but I still think Mahomes it's unforgivable to throw those 2 picks. I do. He's better than that. He said so after the game. He knew he had messed up.
He didn't. I watched him after the game. I didn't see him say, of course he said the right thing, but I don't think he was blaming himself because Joe Thuney, it turns out, is not a left tackle. And I can go down the line. Everybody lost every one-on-one battle on that O-line. It was very, very similar to the last Super Bowl that they lost. It felt almost like a repeat.
855-212-4227. All right, Perloff, not putting the blame on Mahomes. I am. Not fully. It's a team game, but Mahomes did not play well in this game. None of them played well in this game.
Well, let me ask you this, Maggie. We're doing a GOAT debate. Do you think Mahomes will be back?
I do think Mahomes is going to be back, but I think they're going to run into that thing that makes it harder. Now, listen, they lost to that Tampa Bay Bucks team, and they got back. So they've used this as motivation and fuel. Yeah, he'll definitely be back, but I think you pause the GOAT debate for now.
They need a couple things. They need to fix that O-line. Mm-hmm. They need to get younger, and they need younger targets. They really do. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know if Kelsey's going to play anymore, or they just need some speed. We thought that they could play this non-Chiefs football, but it turns out eventually someone was going to catch up to this conservative football. I don't know how they got through the AFC, Maggie, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep coming back to your Bills, but I think the AFC was wildly overrated this year. Honestly, the top of the AFC, I think the Eagles would have smashed anyone, including, I mean, they had already beaten the Ravens in the regular season. Maybe that was the biggest threat. I think they would have had the same. I think they would have killed your Bills, too. I just don't think there was a balance of offense and defense in the NFL like the Eagles this year. Of course, I picked the Chiefs because I was terrified of them because the Chiefs supposedly had this magic. But we said it, Maggie, last week. For the Eagles to win this, they have to crush them. They can't be in a close game with the Chiefs. And that's exactly it was. I kept thinking about that line. Yeah, they crushed them. It was originally Chris Sims' line. That's exactly what they had to do, and it's the same, such a repeat of the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. You know, the O-line just did not show up last night. They didn't have a chance.
It was just a massacre. 855-212-4227. So I'm here in New York. Perloff's still in New Orleans. Confetti falling. I'm sure there's I don't even want to know what's on the bottom of your shoes. I'm sure it's bad. You got the sunglasses on. Like the party never stopped. I love it.
Yeah, I did get into the Eagles party. I could tell you some details about that later.
Okay. I want details from the party. I want your top 5 moments from being in the in the stadium. The stuff that we're not going to get from watching at home. I want it all. I want how did it look? How did it smell? How did it feel? How did it taste? I want every part.
I'll tell you what I remember. How's that? I mean, I am in New Orleans.
I love it. Okay, Perloff on a one-man victory parade on this show, and you deserve it, man. Congratulations. We give you a lot of crap because Eagles fans are the worst, but you get your moment, you get your day, and to the victor goes the spoils. And the fact you did it in such dominant fashion was really, really something.
Who's happier now, me or EJ, by the way? EJ is floating on air because he's so psyched the Chiefs lost.
Get him out of here.
EJ,
Get him out of here. The dynasty is dead. Finally.
EJ is happy today because I think probably because you're back, you're home. EJ did such an amazing job in New Orleans. We will hand out flowers to everybody. Manny, Bogusch. You guys did a great job. Kaplan, oh my gosh. I mean, we everyone came through so hard for us last week and led by EJ. I mean, just A+ across the board, phenomenal. And EJ's happy because the Chiefs dynasty is dead.
Kendrick was awesome.
Kendrick rocked. And we'll get into the halftime show. And because Aaron Rodgers is no longer a Jet or is about to be away from the facility. So EJ's got a lot of things he's happy about today. I spilled coffee on a shoe already this morning. He's like, don't worry about it. EJ's in a great mood.
I forgot about the Rodgers, too. Oh, my gosh. Everything's coming up. EJ, I thought I had a good day.
I know. No,
it's like my birthday or something.
This is really EJ's day. Rodgers is gone. Ding dong. He's dead. 855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. This is about us. It's about you. Did you like watching the Chiefs get destroyed last night? Yes or no? And do we pause the GOAT debate now for Mahomes because he was not good in last night's game? Okay, 855-212-4227. Let's get it going. Perloff still in the Big Easy. It's party time for the Philadelphia Eagles. We're back in a minute.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I think there was a significant amount of the population last night that may have been introduced to Kendrick Lamar, and he's wildly famous and wildly popular. But, like, maybe the baby boomers, maybe a little bit older generation may not be familiar with his catalog. They're familiar now. I put a poll question up on my own Twitter. Welcome back to the show, by the way. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff is in New Orleans joining us from our Odyssey sister station there. The party's still raging. I'm here in New York. What was the bigger beatdown? The Eagles over the Chiefs last night, or Kendrick Lamar over Drake? I mean, it's over. He's dead. This has been a rap beef and a rap battle that's gone on since the summer. And now one rapper just used an entire Super Bowl halftime show to take out another rapper. And everyone was there for it. I think my favorite moment from the halftime show, we'll get into this a little later, Serena with another W. She just doesn't miss. She's out there dancing, doing the Crip Walk thing, but she also used to have a romantic thing with Drake, so that's why this makes this whole thing even sweeter for her. She got a little revenge. Perloff, we'll get your thoughts on the halftime show from being in the stadium last night. I'm sure it seemed pretty epic.
Wait, I have a question. Why wasn't there any, I didn't see it, but did it look like anything was moving stage-wise? It felt like the simplest and fastest in and out stage I've ever seen. Like, Rihanna had, animatronics, and Lady Gaga, I don't even know what she was doing.
Yeah.
It felt really, really simple, and Kendrick sort of was the star of it without, all the bells and whistles.
No, I mean, no suspending from the ceiling. Yeah. He wasn't up on something. No, I mean, to be honest, Beyonce's Christmas performance when she was at Houston almost seemed a little bit more like bells and whistles-y.
Yeah, there was a cavalry came in when Beyonce was there. You're right. It turns out they put tons of money in that Beyonce thing. So I had to be honest, I can't tell you much about the halftime show because the bathroom lines for the press were at least 40 minutes long.
Oh, God.
Sorry, did you need that detail?
This is what we want. We want every detail from your moments last night at the Super Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you, the Superdome's fantastic, but the bathroom lines for the men, can I tell you, this is a serious complaint, Maggie.
Yeah.
The bathroom lines for the men were a half a mile long, and the women were coming in and out like it was no problem.
I know. It's the one place where we get the advantage is sporting events. It's the one place where we're in and out. Restaurants, everywhere else, airports, everywhere else in this world, women have to wait in line 3 times as long as you guys because we have way more complicated outfits, and we all have to go in the stall. But no, we only get the advantage when it comes to sporting events. That's what we got.
It was in full effect last night. And I guess because I was in what's called the auxiliary press box, which is out in the middle of the stadium, there was nothing assigned for media. Not that there ever would be, and I don't mean to complain, but I'm like, if you're trying to cover this game, you have to wait 40 minutes to go to the bathroom. That's an issue for me. I missed a chunk of Kendrick, although I did hear really good things.
Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. Perloff is still in New Orleans. He was at the game last night. He was at the Eagles party last night. We're going to get his top 5 moments from the game last night from being inside the stadium. We'll do that a little bit later on. 40-22, the final score. Jay is in Nashville. Jay, what'd you see from the Chiefs on the losing side of this whole thing?
What I saw from the Chiefs, it looked like somebody before the game was like, fellas, you're not getting any calls. And they were just like, what? We're not getting any calls? What are we going to do? I mean, they look like somebody put a gun to their head before the game, especially Travis Kelce. The look on his face, he looked like he was about to get a family member kidnapped or something if he touched the ball. That's what he looked like. But it reminded me almost, I thought it was going to turn out like that Super Bowl between the Bears and the Patriots, 55-0. I thought it was going to turn out like that. And like you guys are saying, who's to blame for that game is Philadelphia's defensive line.
So good.
You know what I mean? I haven't seen anything like that since like the Miami Hurricanes of old, where they didn't have to blitz anybody. Their D line was so good they never had to blitz anybody. That's what it looked like.
I think it ended up being one blitz the entire game. You want to know what's funny, Jay? So tell me if you guys thought this, because I think America was with me. First drive of the game, Philadelphia Eagles, which they ended up punting. But on the 4th and 2 call, instead of going to the tush push, they go to A.J. Brown on the sideline, and he makes a phenomenal catch for like 30 yards, and they call offensive pass interference. And I thought that was such a weak call. And even Brady said it was a bad call. You know, Mike Pereira, like everyone was piling on. Bad call. I'm like, here we go again. The Chiefs, they're getting these calls. You want to know what? The Eagles ended up getting a couple calls because the Chiefs really got hosed on, what was it, 2nd and 26, I believe.
I noticed that.
And they got and the Chiefs got called for a ticky-tack foul that gave the Eagles a first down when maybe that could have been a Chiefs, actually stalling a drive and getting off the field. And, I think ultimately it kind of didn't matter, Jay, because the game was so lopsided. Like the officials who were dicey in the first half really didn't end up mattering.
Well, the makeup call was the Goddard to the face. That was absolutely 100% a makeup call because they got in their ear, you screwed up the A.J. Brown play. So that was 2 right off the front. And the Barkley one was ridiculous. I mean, he shouldn't have hit him, but personal fouls is now like, I think that's going to be the off-season competition committee thing. Like, they have to decide some level of what's a personal foul because I would have been so mad if I was KC.
Jay, what'd you think of Kendrick?
Just think of how many other teams is mad because of KC getting those calls. It was kind of like, but I said the same thing. I was like, man, Philadelphia is getting the calls now.
Yep.
Because a lot of them was ticky-tacky, but it just shows you how bad the officiating is that we have to come to this tit for tat. I got to make up for this call and stuff like that. And they really need to correct that during the off season because it's for one, it's messing up how everybody bets.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I even betted last night. Because you got to take in consideration on your bet if the refs are going to help them out or not. That's not good.
No, Jay, it's not good. And thanks for getting up early, and thank you for the call and weighing in. We love your perspective. Ron Torbert and his crew, I thought, were lost. It took them at least a quarter and a half to maybe settle into that game, and I would say the full first half. And Perloff, I think they got bailed out, the officiating crew, that the Eagles were so dominant that all of a sudden a call here or there really didn't matter because, what were they looking at? It's like the game was going so fast. I'm like, what are you on Andy Reid's coaching staff? This is like, how do you have no idea what's going on?
Well, I think that's a little unfair. I mean, they had 2 bad calls.
I don't know. I felt like I had 3 maybe bad calls, but I'll have to go back over it.
Right, but for a whole game, that's a miracle because it looked like after the A.J. Brown offensive pass interference, it looked like every play was going to get screwed up, and they did keep their flags in their pocket for a long time. Now, there were a bunch of holds on Kansas City, but we don't need to look at the tape. We know those were holds. There's no doubt about it.
There was nothing they could do.
I thought actually there was a point where the officials hadn't thrown a flag in forever. They're like, we're part of this game too. So they started to throw more flags. I was really psyched that it was a clean game to a large extent and therefore moved pretty fast.
Final tally for the penalties. It was actually the Eagles who were flagged for 1 more, 8 for 59 penalty yards, and it was 7 penalties for the Chiefs, but for 75 penalty yards. They were much more a few more, it was more, impactful. It felt like at times for the Chiefs, but it ended up sort of being even. I didn't love the officiating early on, and I credit Tom Brady because you and I wondered, Pearl, would he actually be critical because he's the minority owner of the Raiders, and he was. Those 2 bad calls in the beginning of the game, he was on top of it.
Yeah, I had the game on in my ears too, and he was mildly on top of it. I wouldn't say he was outraged. He's like, I didn't like those calls either. He was mildly on top of it. And when Pereira called him out, I'm like, whoa. Pereira calling out the officials on the first call in the Super Bowl. Again, everybody was screaming. Can I tell you one thing? Jay brought up the bettors, and obviously that's a big issue with officiating. Can I just say the most frustrating thing? If you had Jahan Dotson anytime touchdown, can you imagine the pain that person who had that bet must have felt, Maggie?
I mean, just the knee just grazing the grass. And then obviously the tush push gets them into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game. Josh is in Dallas. Josh, what'd you see?
I saw a SmackDown. I don't know what you guys saw, but I saw a SmackDown. I didn't know I was watching WWE last night. That's what it felt like. But I want to shout out the Chiefs for destroying my parlay last night. Thanks for that. Besides that, I got a little twist on this. I'm from Dallas, like you said, but I'm actually happy that the Eagles won. I know everyone will disagree with me, but my reasoning is I just want Jerry Jones to feel as much pain as humanly possible and feel embarrassed if he can to see everyone else prospering.
Josh, I thank you for the call. I don't think Jerry's capable of that. I think at some point you have such a combination of money, power, status, plastic surgery. Like, you're impenetrable. Like, physically, mentally, spiritually, like, they can't get to you anymore. And this is why we had such a good interview with Emmitt Smith during Super Bowl week, and it went totally viral. The Ashton Genty part went viral. Because he said that, Dallas should not draft Genty because they're not ready. They can't protect him. Like, he'll get beat up and it will be a waste of a pick. But he was very critical. Des Bryant was very critical on our set, saying that the Cowboys aren't serious about winning. And that's because of Jerry. It's the hiring of Brian Schottenheimer. And by the way, to bring it back to the Super Bowl last night, Kellen Moore looked like he knew what he was doing. And maybe that was, again, better roster. Jalen Hurts using his legs, rushed for more yards than any quarterback has ever rushed for in a Super Bowl. Again, like, record-setting performance last night on both sides of the ball from the Eagles' offense and defense. And Kellen Moore looked like, he definitely came in with the better depth chart, but he was great last night. I mean, the Eagles were fantastic.
But actually, credit the Chiefs' defense. They really hung in there
against Barkley.
They shut down Barkley. The Eagles scored only really 10 points on real drives. So Kellen Moore was fine, but the defense made it so easy on the offense.
See you guys on the phones. Hang on. We're going to get to you. It's all about you today and what you saw last night. Perloff down in New Orleans still, where the party rages. I'm back here in New York, and Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines. Bogusch, did you miss us?
One of you. You can decide who that was.
I don't know if I want to know.
Your headlines this morning are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Cooper DeJean's 38-yard pick six, the first thrown by Patrick Mahomes in his postseason career. It was his first INT of any kind in 297 throws, and Mahomes celebrated by throwing another one on his next attempt, which led to this.
Shotgun snap to Hurts, left tackle block, line drive throw, caught on the 5. A.J. Brown hits the pylon, far side. Touchdown, Philadelphia! They're destroying the Chiefs.
You tell them. Kevin Harlan on Westwood won the two Mahomes picks, fueling a 24-0 halftime lead for the Eagles. It was 34-zip before KC crossed midfield. The 40-22 final, way too flattering to Mahomes and company.
That's why I take ownership in this loss more than probably any loss in my entire career, because I put us in a bad spot. And even though we put up some stats at the end of the game, those stats didn't really matter.
His final line included 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, a fumble, 6 sacks, 11 hits, and no three-peat. The Eagles, meanwhile, win their second Super Bowl in 8 years. Jalen Hurts named MVP after just 5 incompletions, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 via a tush push. Saquon Barkley did his best work as a blocker and a pass catcher.
Big shout out to the defense. They came out and set the tone. We don't win that game without them. Offense, we came out, had a game plan. We knew that, the focus was going to be on the run game, and we took advantage of it. We took advantage of it in the pass game. Jalen came out, played big, and it took a team effort.
Josh Sweat led that defensive effort with 2.5 of those 6 sacks, and now we wait to see what shenanigans happened overnight in Philadelphia. Outside of New Orleans, we might be a few days away from the Jets divorcing Aaron Rodgers. Fox says Rodgers flew to Jersey recently for meetings and was told Gang Green is moving on. Devontae Adams also expected to leave the Jets as well.
They couldn't have done that over the phone. That couldn't have been a Zoom. He really made him fly all the way back here just to be like, thanks, but no thanks. Like, is that the nice thing to do, or is the nice thing to do to say, listen, thank you, we appreciate it, we'll get in touch with your agent?
I guess maybe do we not know the true chain of events? He could have just flown back and said, hey, guys, I'm here. Can we have a meeting? As opposed to them saying, hey, come here so we can tell you you're out.
Like, hey, are you free Thursday at noon? By the way, get your stuff and get out. I mean, now he's got to sell a house now, or I don't know if I think he bought that house. I don't know.
Maybe he saw a show. I mean, they might have put him up in a nice hotel. This might have all worked out for Rodgers.
A nice hotel. He's got like a multi-million-dollar home in New Jersey now that's just going to sit there.
Getting fired on your day off. Glorious.
Anthony Davis's midsection and lower body collapsing like the Chiefs. The brand new Mav now expected to miss weeks, maybe at least a month, with an adductor strain suffered in his Dallas debut Saturday night. Giannis has a left calf issue. He's out through this weekend's All-Star game. Yesterday's 135-127 Bucks win over the Sixers. The fourth game he has missed already with the issue, at least two more coming this week. Women's number 4 Texas snapping South Carolina's 57-game regular season SEC win streak, 66-62. And Sidney Crosby's in Montreal with Team Canada, hoping to play in the Four Nations Cup, which begins later this week. Crosby missed the Penguins' last 2 games with a left arm injury. Rosters are due at 5 Eastern today. Maggie, back to you.
And don't we get the Luka debut tonight?
That is scheduled to happen, yes.
Okay. That feels like it happened a month ago.
It kind of did.
But it was...
And the Lakers lost their other trade over the weekend, too.
I saw that. Mark Williams' trade got nixed. At first, they said it was because they couldn't complete the entire trade, and then it was like, and he failed the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not apparently for the reason that we knew he was hurt. These are other things that they found out.
Listen, can't win them all.
I guess not.
You got Luka. By the way, we'll talk a little bit more about that as days and weeks go on. But a lot of reporting emerging about what this maybe was really all about. Like Luka's conditioning and them not wanting to pay them, but a little bit more about what the owners of the Mavs have in store for the Dallas metro area. A casino, wanting to just use this against moving the team to Las Vegas, potentially, and trying to bottom out the team.
Wow.
And put some pressure on the Texas state legislature. Guys, I'm deep in the weeds.
I'm going to say, is this the JFK conspiracy stuff? I haven't even seen this.
I've got some literature in my car that will change your thoughts on this whole thing.
Wow.
But I heard a lot about Luka and nachos over the years.
Yeah.
So I'm not joking. I heard that Luka's weight was the issue, but I like your theory better.
I think there's just more than one thing at play. I think it's, Luka's weight, his conditioning, his mood, or whatever. That's all right there on the surface. But, I mean, follow the money, guys.
Oh, God.
But when you follow the money, though, to put an expansion team in Vegas would get the NBA hundreds of millions of more dollars than moving the Mavs.
100%. But why did Major League Baseball do that? They could have kept the Oakland A's in Oakland or something about that and expanded to Vegas, and they didn't do it. And it's not about really doing it. It's about the threat of doing it. And
they're
of
also
course,
they're a massive city. Dallas is gigantic.
I know.
What team
guys,
has ever left a city like that?
I'm just telling you, they wouldn't actually do it, but the threat, because the people who own the Mavs now are these casino magnates, and they may not care as much about running a basketball team as they do opening up a casino in Dallas. And right now, the sports gambling part of this is actually starting to get going. So it's only a matter of time.
You're right. Because if you want to convince everyone to build more, you want your team to have 0 wins, so they come down to the stadium to gamble. What?
I'm telling you, I got a 5-point plan here that will make this all make a lot of sense. Keep an eye on that Texas state legislature, guys. That's the key to this whole thing. You'll thank me later. See you guys on the phones. Well, you might not. Feels good to be back. See you guys on the phones. How much blame should Patrick Mahomes get for last night's just full throttling of his Chiefs by the Philadelphia Eagles, and what a performance by those Eagles? Do you put a pause on the GOAT debate? And also, were you happy to see the Chiefs lose? You said you had Chiefs fatigue. 855-212-4227. We get back to this. I'm here in New York. Perloff still in New Orleans, partying the night away. His Eagles are Super Bowl champs.
I'm sorry, Andrew Kaplan. I got a little out of control. I'm sorry, Andrew Kaplan. I got a little out of control.
Now Bailey rode into town with suspicion in his eyes, saying Kaplan's got a secret and he's hiding it inside. Zach Gelb's lost in darkness, Ryan Stream's a mess, Chabelle Wolf's just a spinning wheel. Oh Lord, what a distress. But Maggie and Perloff, they shine so bright, like a star in the desert on a Texas night. Daily says it's shady, but I swear on my name, I'm sorry. I ain't no bandit, I just make streets fly. I'm sorry. I got a little out of control. I'm sorry, Andrew Kaplan. I got a little out of control. I'm sorry, Andrew Kaplan. I got a little out of control. I'm sorry, Andrew Kaplan. I got a little out of control. I'm sorry, Andrew Kaplan. I got a little out of control. I'm sorry, Andrew Kaplan. I got a little out of control. I'm sorry. If there's a tech problem, don't look at me. Ask the guy who's missing more than Tennessee.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
I'm out here, and Cap, I think you're great. This is Daly. I'm out here, and Cap, I think you're great. This is Daly. I'm out here, and Cap, I think you're great.
Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The question, Would Kendrick play this song? Yeah, he closed with it. Not only did he play it, he closed with it. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Dominant performance last night by Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles. 40-22 is the final score. Didn't even feel that close. Felt like 40-0. Perloff's still in New Orleans, soaking it all up. We're going to get your moments from the party and the atmosphere and everything. But quickly, Pearl, let's go to the phones. D is in Portland, who is also a giant Eagles fan. D, congrats to your Birds.
I appreciate that. Right now my ADHD has lowered a lot, so I'm gonna be chill right now. Man, the defense just played freaking amazing, man. Special teams, the offense did, played pretty good. But one thing that while I was watching the game, of course I was screaming up and down. How other teams should start playing Mahomes is you got to start pushing the other people, the offensive line, towards him, towards Mahomes. You got to keep doing it. And then eventually he's going to run around because you saw it. You guys all saw it. He was running around making mistakes. I think a lot of teams are going to start watching that and be like, maybe we should start doing that as well. Eagles, I love my Birds, man. Fly, Eagles, fly. Perloff, more excitement from you, brother. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
You too, D. Perloff, what do you think about D's assessment of how the Eagles' defensive line got pressure on Mahomes?
Well, one thing, did you hear after the game, Patrick Mahomes said, that's on me. I was trying to make a play. So there was no quick passes, which was funny because Fox did this graphic on how effective Mahomes was when he was quick passing. But that was partly on him. He was trying to make a play, which we've seen him do a million times to all of our teams. There was no play to be had. So I think actually he missed one point. The coverage was so good on the wide receivers downfield because the wide receivers, except for Worthy, are so slow, they're easy to cover. So I think it was a combination of factors. It wasn't just the guys pushing up front.
There were times I felt like Mahomes, maybe 4 different times in the game, maybe 5, where he scrambled for it felt like 13, 14 seconds. I mean,
yes.
How did the Eagles defense on the secondary not hold? How do you not commit a hold in 14 seconds of scrambling? That was a real achievement. They were disciplined. And, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, had been 0-8 against Andy Reid, but obviously came in with a much tougher roster this time.
Does that remind you exactly of the Tampa Bay game where Mahomes was running around like crazy and just desperately heaving these 50-50 balls? He was, the Mahomes magic was not there, but I think it's a bigger picture. And the D-line, as great as they were, I do think the narratives might be forgetting the cornerbacks because Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell and Slay, I mean, they did a great job. You're right, discipline. How do you not hold somebody after all that time? Or did the officials, once the ball started rolling downhill, say, you know what, let's give the Eagles a break? I don't know if there were actually some holds.
It goes back to Jay in Nashville, the first call we took this morning, that the Chiefs weren't getting the calls and that this was kind of throwing them off a little bit. Sean is our pal in Oregon. Sean, what do you think about the Mahomes GOAT debate? Do we have to put it on pause for now?
He ain't the best no more, you guys. Hey, when you go into these big games, it's who makes the least amount of mistakes. And you can't have the best quarterback of all time making mistakes like that.
Yep.
In 4 Super Bowls, Joe Montana never threw a single interception. And that's hard to believe. I mean, you guys talk about, get to Mahomes and make it sound easy, just like getting pressure. That's the answer for every quarterback. That's what everybody tries to do. This is just he didn't get it done this time. I mean, hats off to the Eagles. But, I mean, you guys got to start throwing some blame on. And doesn't the Chiefs' offensive line, don't they have one of the highest paid offensive lines? This is just unacceptable for those guys. They're going in there trying to win 3 in a row. You got to play like you're trying to win 3 in a row.
Oh, well, Sean, I think Mahomes gets blame. I think Andy Reid gets blame. I think the offensive line gets blamed. The only unit I think I'm not really blaming is probably the defensive line, who did an admirable job against Saquon Barkley. Barkley was held under 60 yards rushing. He did not have, and I think he had about 40 yards receiving. But Sean, thank you for the call and pointing that out. He was not the Super Bowl MVP. Jalen Hurts certainly was, and the defense was.
Yeah, I don't know about that. highest paid offensive line. We got to check that stat.
I thought the Eagles' offensive line was, well, they're definitely the heaviest and the biggest, and they were
Eagles
awesome.
have 3 All-Pros, and their best guy are 3 Pro Bowlers, and their best guy's not in the Pro Bowl.
855-212-4227. We've got Perloff's top 5 moments from the Super Bowl. He's in the stadium. I'll do my top 5 moments for the Chief haters. We'll take more of your calls next. It's MVP.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Back goes Mahomes. He's rushing. He's looking. It's intercepted. It's intercepted. Running with the football to the 25. Down the far side is DeGene. And DeGene is in for a touchdown.
Happy birthday, Cooper DeGene.
Cooper DeGene with a pick for a touchdown.
Exciting whites all over the place. Merrill Reese on Eagles Radio. They call the secondary, everybody. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I'm here in New York. Perloff is in New Orleans, soaking in all of the Eagles' glory, and that Cooper DeGene pick six was certainly something. And just to put a little context around that, that was just one of 3 turnovers that the Eagles forced on Patrick Mahomes. It was 2 interceptions and 1 fumble, and that, according to Stats Inc., that is the most that Patrick Mahomes has had since he became a starter in the league in a playoff game.
And the most sacks since he's been in the league too, right?
Most sacks. It was a full just domination by your Eagles defense, Perloff. I have to imagine. I mean, you knew the defense was good. They're the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL, but did even you think they were going to play this well against the master and Mahomes?
No idea. I know they were number 1 defense, but I didn't think of them like the Legion of Boom Seattle Seahawks, and that's a Super Bowl that kept coming to my mind. Remember when they beat up Denver in the Meadowlands? I actually was having a debate with somebody which was a more dominant defensive performance, and I don't think you could say that this was any less dominant than this. Was it possibly the greatest defensive half we've seen in the Super Bowl when they were shutting them out? I know there's been other shutouts. 85 Bears is similar, but it's right there. It's on the Mount Rushmore of Super Bowl defensive performances. And the fact that it was against Mahomes, I think makes it even greater than some of those. They weren't beating up Tony Eason or, well, Peyton Manning's pretty good. So Seattle's still up there as well.
Yeah, so as far as halftime leads, this was the second largest halftime margin that we've ever seen in the Super Bowl era. But the only other shutout, it was 24-0 was your score last night at halftime, our score for Super Bowl 59. The only other shutout at halftime, 1982, but the 81 season, San Francisco is up 20-0 over Cincinnati. Even those 85 Bears, Pearl, the New England Patriots actually had 3 points at halftime. So that was not a shutout, even though the game ended up being, so lopsided.
Was the greatest lead 28-3 Atlanta over New England?
That one didn't even make the list because that wasn't actually the halftime lead. That was later in the third quarter lead. And It doesn't even make the list.
Oh.
The top 5, let's see, I got it right here. Come on back. Yeah, it was the largest lead ever, 1988-1987 season. Washington was up 35-10 over Denver. And then last night was the second biggest lead, halftime, 24-0.
28-3 was not halftime? I know you're right, but I feel like my mind made that the halftime score.
No, it was not the halftime score. But last night, from all angles, that Philadelphia defense was fantastic. And we mentioned the 3 turnovers, how dominant the defensive line, which, by the way, remember they had the flu or something like I did? Oh. They looked totally healthy. It was the Chiefs, in fact, who looked like they were a step slow, like they didn't have the juice. They came out like this was some regular season game when they were on the doorstep of history, and then the Eagles end up making history right in their faces.
Well, can we talk about that flu issue, Maggie?
What's that?
Can we talk about the flu issue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that you got mad at me last week because I said I was rooting against my coworkers' teams.
Yes.
but I was just rooting. I wasn't actively spreading germs to the players who were about to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
So fortunately for you, I hope you were pulling for the Eagles because you shook Lane Johnson's hand with your sick paws.
My infected flu hands. It was just like crawling with germs. Obviously, if you guys were listening to Friday's show, Thursday afternoon, I ended up coming down with a horrible flu. Of course, everyone thought that I was like in a gutter in Bourbon Street. I mean, I didn't have one drink the entire week. That's not really my style. But I just got hit with a crazy flu, and there were some other things that happened making my way home. And I did shake Lane Johnson's hand, but Perloff, that was on Tuesday. That was before my symptoms set in.
Well, whatever. Also, you were in close proximity of Saquon with those size 9 feet of yours. What if you had stepped on his toe and Saquon would have been out? You were a menace to Philadelphia Eagles. Next year, I actually talked to the NFL, and I said, make sure Maggie Gray does not stay in the Eagles hotel if they make the Super Bowl.
Listen,
because you were after them. Admit it.
You know what? You are so lucky that when EJ and I were walking into the hotel lobby because we were staying in the same hotel as the Eagles, as Perloff just mentioned, you're so lucky that EJ and I were so wrapped up in conversation about tomorrow's show that we didn't even notice that Saquon Barkley walked by us because I would have extended the hand. I'm a handshaker. We talked about this.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I almost said something to Big Dom halfway through the week. I'm like, watch that Maggie character. She's after the team, but she doesn't want me to be too arrogant next week.
Oh, my gosh. Imagine if I tripped Saquon Barkley with my gigantic feet. I would never forgive myself. I mean, I could be on the other side of the lobby. This Hilton took up a city block, and somehow I think my feet could have gotten tangled up with Saquon.
Do you remember back in the day, there's been great Super Bowl controversies through the years. Irving Fryer cut his hand, said he was cutting a bagel.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett Robbins disappears. Radio host steps on Saquon Barkley's foot and puts him in the hospital. That would have been the greatest Super Bowl scandal of all time.
Hey, by the way, everyone poo-pooed it. And I said over a decade ago, I stayed in the same hotel when the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, and the Ravens stayed in that hotel when they played the 49ers, and the Ravens won. I said, I think there's something lucky about that Hilton.
Not everybody poo-pooed it. Our super gambler Uber driver, who's like, I've been betting for 32 years, said, that means nothing. Remember that guy?
Yeah, and I'd like to find you, sir.
No, I'm going to call an Uber right now just so you can trash talk that dude, because you had several valid points. I mean, most of them were about the color of the Gatorade and things like that.
855-212-4227. So how much blame does Patrick Mahomes get for last night's performance? In my opinion, Perloff, a lot. A couple reasons. Number one, the interceptions were unforgivable of someone of his caliber. You know, he knows better. And even he said so after. He's got to throw those balls away. He's trying to make something happen. He's trying to get erase a 14-point deficit in one play, and it's not going to work, or a 10-point deficit in one play. He's got to know better that he can't get rattled like that. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and he looked like he was just any old guy out there. And the credit the Eagles defense for it. But then on the flip side of this, like you mentioned how much this echoed the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, where Mahomes didn't have anywhere to go. He was so much younger and greener in that Super Bowl. This is a guy who's a seasoned veteran who's actually been there. Like, I know he didn't have anywhere to go. I know that the Eagles defense made them look like mortals, but Mahomes didn't help himself. And if we're talking about the highest echelon, the Mount Everest of, like monikers that we're giving you, greatest, if we're putting you up there with Brady and Montana, you've got to be better.
I disagree. I vehemently disagree, because this is a team sport to its core. And to separate Mahomes from everybody else, you're right. It got desperate times, Maggie. He had to try and make plays. What was he going to do? Just chip down the field or hand the ball off? You have to at least go for it, at least try to get back in the game. And the second interception, that was a crazy catch. So I'm not going to kill him for that. It reminded me, and I know it was 5 years ago or whatever, the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, and he was younger, but it looked exactly the same. He was still trying to run around and make plays. Can I ask you another question? I got a text from our good friend, Dr. Rock Positano, during the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm watching the way Mahomes is moving horizontally, and he does not look perfectly right. Is there a chance that Mahomes is slightly injured. I know he was able to run straight forward, but his movement didn't look nearly as smooth as I've seen him in the past. It looked like he was having trouble avoiding Eagles, like when he had avoided Bills easily. He moved around the pocket so easily in the past. It felt like he wasn't super comfortable. Is it that because the Eagles were all over the place, or is it possible we're going to find out he was nicked up a little bit?
I don't know, because usually Mahomes, when he's hurt, like he's visibly limping, and he'll still play well. Despite all that, there was some video that was going around social media last night about Mahomes taking a pretty big fall sideways and hitting his head against the turf. I don't know if you saw that. That was in the first quarter, and so some people were wondering, like, man, why didn't the independent neuroscientist come in and at least take a look at it? Seemed to smack his head pretty hard off the side. So, listen, maybe we'll find out something later on. But for now, this is all Eagles. Let's go to the phones, 855-212-4227. Jared's in Boise. Hey, Jared, how you doing?
What's going on, guys? It's a beautiful morning here in Boise where our boy Kellen Moore took care of business. Oh, my goodness. My family was so happy. Half of us had Kellen Moore jerseys on. The other half had Genty jerseys, and we were pretty happy last night. First of all, that penalty at the beginning of the game, I think collectively America kind of rolled their eyes at the back of their head. But especially here in Boise, we were mad because that play on fourth down is specifically a Kellen Moore trademark at Boise State. I can't tell you how many times he's done that exact play to Austin Pettis or Titus Young. But anyway, I think what won this game was just that Eagles defense. As much as I love Kellen and Jalen Hurts, they played a crazy good game. That defensive line just controlled the game, and I don't think Mahomes just had much of a choice but to make these crazy throws, where you're just like, what is this Mahomes that I'm watching? If you also, I do have to say Mahomes has to take the majority of the credit, just because.
You mean the blame?
The Chiefs defense held Saquon under 60 yards. If you told me that going into this game, I would have thought the Chiefs won 37-10.
You know what, Jared? It's a good point. I mean, they understood the assignment, the defensive line. Even with Chris Jones getting banged up in the game, he was getting his neck work on after the tush push. Pearl, I don't know if you saw that in the stadium, and then his knee brace came off. He took it off at one point, and then obviously got knocked out of the game later on.
Well, they put everybody up in the box, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith had so much one-on-one. If the Eagles, here's the thing, Maggie, because of that specific dynamic, I think the Eagles could have scored 50 if they wanted to. I'm not kidding. They put everybody up at the line. There were a couple plays where he missed A.J. Brown long, too. They could have scored just like they did against the Commanders. That offense could have really picked it up and scored more points. Do you agree that they basically slowed it down a bit?
Well, not just that. I mean, they put Kenny Pickett in the game, who couldn't get a first down and end the game, which was tough, from a personal standpoint, because I had Mahomes under passing attempts, and I was like, oh my gosh, Kenny Pickett's going to ruin this for me. I think they definitely could have. They kept their foot on the gas, in the turnover on downs. That was late in the third quarter, that turnover on downs? And you thought, okay, maybe they'll just sort of it was in the fourth quarter. They'll just sort of run the clock out here, try to eat as much clock as possible, and instead they go for everything to Smith, and they end up scoring a touchdown. I mean, the Eagles were not going to be denied. They smelled blood in the water, went totally for the jugular. But yeah, I mean, Saquon Barkley's final line, 25 carries for 57 yards. Longest run was 10 yards, but then in the past game, 6 receptions for 40 yards. Not a lot of explosive plays, Pearl. Never got in the end zone, but I think the fact that they kept Barkley as part of the staying on schedule on the game plan allowed the Eagles to be themselves on offense.
Absolutely. All the big explosive plays by other guys, credit Saquon Barkley. Give him 20% of that play because everybody was watching him.
It was just who got to play their game? The Eagles got to play their game on both sides, and that's generally what the Chiefs' MO has been. That's always against my Bills. They always play their game, and they play it at the highest level in the biggest moments. And last night, the Chiefs were completely discombobulated on offense because of the Eagles' defense. And meanwhile, the Eagles were out there just running their stuff.
Maggie, I have to ask you another tough question. When you saw that blowout and the way the Chiefs played, was there a regret that Buffalo couldn't do the same thing?
Oh, yeah. I think Buffalo would have gave you guys a better game last night. To be honest, I think anyone would have given you a better game last night. I think a lot of this was on the Chiefs. They no-showed part of this, Pearl. I think I'm not trying to take anything away from your Eagles. You guys won 40-22, and it was way more lopsided than that. I just think, like, last night, the Chiefs just looked so utterly beatable. You guys just had the formula.
If the Eagles played the Bills, who would the Eagles have to worry about as far as pass catchers?
I don't think that now we're going into hypotheticals. I don't think the Bills would have abandoned the run in the way that the Chiefs did. I think the Bills would have still been giving the ball to James Cook, and we'll see what would have happened. That's what
Andy Reid said after the game, we knew coming in the Eagles are great against the run. They're just okay against the pass. So I don't think that formula would have worked. I think the Eagles were going to beat anybody on this given Sunday.
Well, you get to say that for sure, and I'm not going to argue with you because they looked so good. But obviously, because we got such a blowout, and for a lot of us, it was not to say boring, but would have loved a closer game. Would have loved anyone else in there besides the Chiefs, quite frankly.
What we could say, that game was boring because it was boring because the Chiefs were so flat.
Yep.
You said it to start the show. They just did not look engaged for some reason.
It was like, guys, wake up. History. Legacies. I mean, we're going to talk about this game forever. Chris is in Alabama. Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. As a Saints fan, when it comes to rooting for either team, I was rooting for the Meteor, even though it was in our own dome, and some of the players were former Saints players and draft picks we could have picked up on, i.e., which could have been Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, but everyone would call Jalen Hurts, even Eagles fans, Taysom Hill 2.0 and wrote him off. Look at him now.
Wow.
It's something else when you think about it, though. When you think of what happened, it wasn't just the Eagles that won last night. It was America. Why? Because we don't get Taylor Swift shoved in our face every single second, as if she's a Mormon. As if it was a Mormon paneling off a pamphlet of the Watchtower. We don't get it here constantly this season. The NFL draft, and Pat Mahomes rubbing it in our face. He's won when he made their first round draft pick, and most of all, we get rest ball. And hey, for Saints fans, at least we finally can say we have an idea of who's going to be our new HC. Outside of that, when it comes to the halftime show, with us Saints fans, I say decent enough. We rather Lil Wayne probably been there because it was New Orleans. Because the Drake and Kendrick stuff is kind of just dragged out at this point.
I mean, Kendrick killed. He's over. Like this ended in the summer. Chris, thank you. Wide ranging call. Agree with a lot of your points. Like Kendrick put an end to this beef and then used the halftime show to just like really drive the point home. We'll get into that and some of the more auxiliary stuff. Yeah, Pro, go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised there were more guest appearances. I always expect that. Any Super Bowl halftime, I'm of the 2012 version where 42 different acts would come out. That's my favorite kind of halftime show.
We have polls up for you on X. Did it feel good to see the Chiefs get crushed in the Super Bowl? And you heard a little from Chris there in Alabama. He liked that. Right now, 61% of you are saying yes. And should the Chiefs' loss in the Super Bowl put a pause on the Mahomes GOAT talk? 82%, Brady still the GOAT. Mahomes had a chance here last night, and it just felt like they played around with it, Pearl.
He had a chance of what?
To close the gap on Brady for the GOAT debate.
No, well, okay, but he didn't have a chance in the game.
No. He had a chance at history, and it was just a total flop.
Well, I'll tell you, after the game, Mahomes looked incredibly cool and collected in the sense that I was like, oh, boy, I feel bad for the AFC. He looked like, in his eyes, I am coming back with a vengeance. Now, who knows? And at some point, Andy Reid's going to retire. Travis Kelce might retire. So maybe this whole thing won't stay together. But I think Mahomes has GOATness in him. just like Brady. I'm not saying he's better than Brady, but he's got that incredible killer in him. So I don't think he's going to be discouraged after this, Maggie, unfortunately for your Bills.
Perloff in New Orleans soaking up the Eagles W. They are the Super Bowl champs. Super Bowl 59 goes to the Birds. What did Saquon Barkley say about the future, though, of this Philadelphia team? Someone's talking very, very big after he completed what was a storybook season. See you guys on the phones, taking your calls all morning long on last night's game at 855-212-4227. If you want to watch the show, Perloff has already done 2 outfit changes in his studio in New Orleans. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, and on X at Maggie Gray. We also say good morning to our Infinity Sports Network affiliates and on Sirius XM channel 375. Tap in.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Philadelphia Eagles, your Super Bowl champs, and they did it in style, with style, everything. Just cruising to victory. And Perloff, you had said it through the week that you agreed with Chris Sims, who threw out the idea that if the Eagles were going to win this game, they had to crush the Chiefs. And I think I disagreed with it. I said, no, I thought the Eagles could win a close game. I didn't think they had to crush them. But to me, going into the game, it was impossible to even imagine in your brain that the Chiefs could play this bad or that the Eagles defense was going to make the offense look this bad because, yeah, we saw it in Tampa and against Brady's Bucks back in 2020 in COVID year, but you thought Mahomes has come so far since then and we've given him so much more respect, more due. They've won 2 more Super Bowls since then. There's no way they would repeat those mistakes. And I think what it comes down to is even if you are one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, which Mahomes will go down as when this is all said and done, there's no elixir for a great defense. Like the great defense is so cliched, but they will always find a way. And Philadelphia did that last night.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Although it was a question about whether the Chiefs' O-line, it had looked good with Joe Thuney moving outside to left tackle. But I think there were some questions. Remember, Maggie, a few weeks ago, like, oh, is this O-line going to all come together? And it really had. You know, the entire offense looked better the last 6 games than it had all year long.
Yep.
They never got over 30 during the season than they did against your Bills. So I thought the Chiefs' offense was fixed to a large degree. So you're right. I knew the Eagles' defense was good. I thought it was going to be good, but I had no idea this Chiefs offense was going to show up. It was exactly like the Tampa. They just could not protect him for 1 second, and then Mahomes started to try and make these plays. We've seen him done in the past. It wasn't there. The team construction is wrong, Maggie. I'm sorry. I never thought they got away with not having any speed, but it really showed up last night.
Yeah, you know what? And Xavier Worthy obviously is the speed guy, and he ends up scoring 2 touchdowns in this game last night. But you know what? Is he it's almost like a luxury piece to have Xavier Worthy. Would they been better off not adding a skill position player, but adding a lineman? I mean, we can say that now. The night of the draft, I was upset because my Bills basically handed Worthy to their biggest opponent. But to be honest, like those are luxury pieces. It's almost more of a Cowboys move, you know, if they were going to add an Ashton Genty or something. You got to build on the line. And that's where the Chiefs may have lost the plot for this season. I
totally, what you say in principle makes perfect sense. But in reality, and the Cowboys have the same problem, you need speed on the outside or you just make the defense's job so easy. Xavier Worthy was a lifeline to that offense. So if they didn't have Xavier Worthy, then who on earth were the Eagles worried about? Hollywood Brown's not good. DeAndre Hopkins is washed. Kelsey, he's washed. Can we say it?
This was a tough one for Kelsey. This was a very
all the Noah
tough game.
Grays and the Jujus and the
Justin
Watsons.
Yep.
Those guys aren't fast enough. So I kind of disagree with you because, you know, speed makes the defense adjust. All this cover 2 and try and chipping down the field, it's hard. So I think they need both. To be honest, they needed a couple extra draft picks.
855-212-4227. We're asking you a couple questions today. Did you enjoy watching the Chiefs get kicked around a little bit last night? Overwhelmingly, you guys are saying yes to that. And also, does this put a pause on the Mahomes GOAT debate? You know, he was right there. If he had gotten the three-peat, You could say, listen, maybe he's past Brady already. He wouldn't have 7, but he would have done something no quarterback in history would have ever done. And instead, it was probably the worst game of his life. I mean, I don't know if we go back to the Texas Tech film, but as far as being a pro, he's never been sacked this much. He's never had a playoff game with this many turnovers. I mean, it was just a nightmare for Mahomes out there. Anthony is in Wichita. Anthony, what do you think about Mahomes?
Well, I'm going to say it like this. As far as pausing on the GOAT talk, I don't think we pause it, because if you pause Mahomes on the GOAT, and granted he has 2 Super Bowl losses, well then, did Brady get a pause because he lost twice to the New York Giants? So that's my argument for that. So no, because as long as they keep this team intact, and they might pick up some key pieces during the offseason, because there's talk they may get George Pickens because Tomlin is tired of his actors. So you got another weapon there to give Mahomes to work with, and you know what he does when he has weapons. But like you said, the battle is won in the trenches. And as much as it seemed like there's a lot of talk that the Eagles is not getting enough credit, they won that game in the trenches.
Yep.
And the big Achilles heel for the Chiefs has been their offensive line. Yes, they looked good the last month of the season, but at the end of the day, the offensive line was usually their Achilles heel, so they need to fix that. So, no, you don't take Mahomes off the GOAT talk. You don't pause it, because there's a chance they will be back again next year. But I want to give some credit to Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Because even Patrick Mahomes said in his press conference, he says, I don't see why come he's not getting enough credit that he does get. And yes, it was a good pickup to pick up Saquon Barkley, but at the end of the day, you still need a quarterback. And Jalen Hurts did exactly what he needed to do all season long to get his team there, and he rightfully deserved the MVP. One of my coworkers said this. He said Jalen Hurts didn't win that game, the defense won it. That's true. The defense did win it. But at the same time, the defense didn't score 40 points. That came from the offensive side. So while we're talking about Mahomes and what's wrong with the Chiefs, let's also give Jalen Hurts some credit. I want to say thank you for taking my call. You guys have a blessed day. I'm
Anthony,
out.
same to you. Solid call. Want to react to a couple things about it. Perloff, I want you to take the Jalen Hurts side of this, because you had said that he's like a sixth man, or that's what it felt like on this playoff run. But last night set a record for most rushing yards ever by a quarterback in a Super Bowl, and he was exactly what the Eagles needed to play like that and to build the lead and still continue to take shots. I mean, so uber impressed with Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah, I am impressed, and I agree with every single point he had. One thing about it, though, he was kind of a six-man again, because we were trying to figure out the MVP during the game, and I'm sure you were too, Maggie. Jalen Hurts just wasn't putting enough passing yards up. We're like, oh, man, he's just not passing enough to have a good enough line to get this MVP. The running was great. What happened to the knee injury against the Rams? Have you ever seen an injury go away more significantly? He looked healthier the last 2 games than he had looked in years. I thought the guy was hobbled, and he really was not.
He looked great. And those design runs and the quarterback keepers that they started doing more late in the second quarter and into the third quarter were perfect. Because Barkley Barkley was chipping away, but he wasn't able to really get free at any point. But because the Eagles kept going to him, you had to keep accounting for him. And it just left these lanes for Jalen Hurts where he's picking up 8 yards, 9 yards, 11 yards on these quarterback keepers and wasn't taking any hits.
Well, also, one thing, the defense did score basically 17 points. I mean, the defense delivered a lot of offense.
Yes, they did. 855-212-4227. Coming up later, we'll get Perloff's top 5 moments for being in the stadium last night. He's still in New Orleans celebrating this Eagles dub. And I will give you the top 5 moments for all the Chief haters last night. Some things you could really sink your teeth into if you were happy to see the Dynasty get put on pause.
Oh, is that a Bills fan perspective? Now you get to get your comeuppance against Kansas City?
It's America's. Haters. Yeah. People like me. It's America's perspective, girl. America, this one's for you. Andrew Bogusch. We'll get back to the phones in a minute. Andrew Bogusch is here with the latest headlines.
Maybe along those lines, let me try to kill the Philly buzz for a second. Joel Embiid told ESPN before yesterday's 135-127 loss in Milwaukee that he might need another, more extensive surgery on his troublesome left knee. This one would require a lengthy recovery. Embiid needs to see how the knee feels after this season. He initially hurt it last February.
Bogusch, you cannot get to me with Joel Embiid news. Never, ever again. That will not affect me.
Remember last week when he said he's back, and now he's saying, I probably need a huge surgery.
And I bet Philadelphia fans are like, and you know what? Why don't you go rehab in, Siberia? Like, we don't care.
Yeah. Gosh, I have to pay rent into an MRI too.
Can we get Luka Doncic for Joel Embiid? That's what we're all wondering.
Didn't even get a chance to make a phone call. What a shame.
Otherwise, away from Embiid, the party does continue in Philly because...
In the pistol, on the NFL logo, from the Kansas City 46, Eagles take over 1st and 10. The shotgun snap, the fake handoff, and Hurts drops back 5, winds up, long arching pass, down the middle. It's caught over the shoulder in the end zone. Touchdown, Smith!
That's Kevin Harlan on Westwood One. The 46-yard beauty to Devontae Smith gave Philly a 34-0 lead in the third quarter. The Chiefs still hadn't been in Eagle territory at that point. Jalen Hurts finished the 40-22 route with 3 total touchdowns, a Super Bowl quarterback record, 72 rushing yards, and the MVP trophy.
Still processing it. It's been a long journey. It's been a journey of ups and downs and highs and lows, and I've always stayed true to it in the end, and having this vision of just being the best that I can be.
Patrick Mahomes still processing 3 turnovers, including a pick 6, plus he was sacked 6 times. Travis Kelce only caught 4 passes.
I mean, they just got after us on all 3 phases, and then on top of that, turnovers, penalties, playing behind the sticks on offense is just drop passes. Not taking advantage of, the play call and executing. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You don't lose like that without everything going bad.
And his girlfriend got booed. So the Chiefs are not the first team to pull off a Super Bowl three-peat. The last team to win 3 straight NFL crowns remains the 65-67 Packers, the 2000-02 Lakers, the last team to three-peat in any of our 4 major leagues.
Okay, couple things there. One, they did go to Pat Riley and ask him about the three-peat,
yes,
who Pat Riley has the trademark on. All-time jinx.
Well, I thought the NFL did that.
Oh, it was not the Chiefs?
I thought the NFL talked to Pat Riley's people.
Convenient story. Okay, and then the second one. Do you think Taylor Swift's ever been booed before?
It appeared that she hadn't, based on her reaction last night.
She was like, what is this sound? That's this cacophony. Like, I'm sorry, aren't people supposed to be shrieking every time they see me? And Eagle fans, Perloff, I don't know how loud it sounded in the stadium. On TV, it was very clear.
It might as well have been the link. I mean, it was not a Super Bowl crowd. It really wasn't.
So your guess is she was being booed because she was the enemy of the Eagles. That wasn't anything bigger statement about her.
No, I think, I was wondering, was it Chiefs fatigue? Because she's the face of Chiefs fatigue because the overcoverage is because of her. Right?
So they were booing her because she's a Chief, not because of anything bigger than that.
No, I mean,
or deeper.
I don't know. What you got something? I
don't know if that was more about politics and red and blue, or just because she was a Chiefs fan and those are an Eagles building. She was getting booed like as if she was in Philadelphia.
I'm not touching that one. You think it might have been her politics?
Well, I'm just you were the one that was there, and you could judge the building better.
I can't ask why Bill from Pennsauken is booing Taylor Swift. I don't know.
But if it was 70% Eagles fans, then my guess is the booing was because she's a Chief representative.
No. All the booing and cheering was based on a Philadelphia perspective. Like, a good Philly play got cheered, and any KC play got booed. But, Trump got him. I don't know what it sounded like. Trump got a very mixed. There were definitely boos and cheers for Trump. So actually, it was the crowd
sounded more positive on TV. It did.
There was some boos too, but there were a lot of cheers. Yeah, everything did come up Philly. Taylor, I'm not sure. There was any time a Philly celebrity came on, people went crazy, like Kevin Hart. I don't know what was on TV, but they showed a lot of Philly people.
Kevin Hart didn't go well on TV.
No, well, I mean, and I credit Brady. I thought Brady was very good in this game. We'll hand out some grades later, a little report card. Perloff, you said you were listening, even though you were in the building, you can listen to the broadcast. They hand out like these little earpiece things. And I thought Brady was good. And most importantly, I thought he was loose. And, the game was a blowout, so there was a little bit more time. And I thought he came in with the stories, talking about losing to the Giants, how long it took for him to get over it. And then he did the great thing of taking a shot at Kevin Hart, who obviously was like a big part of the Tom Brady roast and definitely made some cracks about Giselle and the jiu-jitsu instructor. And Brady was great. He goes, the camera goes on Kevin Hart, and he goes, man, I'm surprised the camera could find Kevin Hart.
Oh, great line.
Great line.
That's a great line.
Totally delivered. And Kevin Burkhardt's like, well, you never know on any given day. I'm like, oh, Kevin, how
Kevin
did you?
missed it. Sweet Kevin.
You missed it. This is like Aaron Judge in center field. How did you drop this?
It was the Yankees'
freaking
fifth
World
inning.
Series, man.
Oh, thanks,
Kevin,
guys.
lay out. Sorry.
I'm surprised. I am genuinely surprised that you thought Tom Brady did a good job. Not that he didn't do a good job, but you tend to be hypercritical of the color guys. Like, you have a high bar. And I got to be honest, I got some texts that weren't on the same page. I think a lot of people, like my father-in-law, had never heard Brady do a game before because he's a Patriots fan. He's like, what is this?
He's a Pats fan. I feel like he would have to love Brady just on principle. But I thought Brady, it was easily his best game. I thought he was great. I really do. I thought he was excellent.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, the parts I heard, I just thought that he wasn't adding a lot of extra juice. Like, I think that we just heard Kevin Harlan in this thing, like, just hearing his voice call that play, I was like ready to jump through the screen. I did not get that from the telecast.
Well, to be honest, though, Kevin Harlan, that's Burkhardt.
Yeah.
And here's the other part. I think Fox did a lot of, I think they did some things really well in this game, but there were a lot of things I thought it lacked. I thought they were not really quick on replays. We didn't see enough replays. There were whole plays like the sack fumble, the third turnover. I mean, this is a huge moment in the game. The game was out of reach, but Mahomes is spiraling. Then you get a sack fumble that may have had a face mask. We don't get more than one replay.
And what's his name wanted no part of that.
Oh, I know, Pereira. But then the other part is they missed extra points. Like, I know it's an extra point. It's not fun. But Jake Elliott has been a disaster this whole season. We can't see the extra point at all. Like, can we see the plays in the game?
They didn't show the extra point?
They missed, I think, 2 or 3 extra
Definitely
points.
missed at least one, yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't a great night. They also didn't know why there was a penalty after the strip sack, even though everyone who watched saw that the guy dunked on the goalpost. And I was like, well,
they never showed that.
That's a penalty. No, I saw it.
Yeah.
But, first of all, the camera barely showed it, so you kind of couldn't see. But I saw it. They never showed a replay of him dunking on the goalpost to emphasize why there was a penalty. And Pereira, in a low voice, is like, yeah, you touched the goalpost. And then Brady's like, oh, okay, that's why. Pereira's like, yeah. I'm like, come on, Pereira. I know the game is a blowout, but, can you explain to the people what's going on? I saw it, but nobody else knows what's going on.
Also, can we get Milton Williams? Can you put his full name out there?
Well,
I'm now being nitpicky.
What do you
He's
mean?
not exactly a household name. He came up with a huge sack early in the game. They never refer to him as his full name. We got no biographical, nothing. And then he comes up and recovers the sack fumble, and he didn't recover it. He forced it, right? And we still got nothing about this guy. These are big plays in the Super Bowl, and I feel like they were a little lost on those. But
one thing.
Brady was good.
A good Super Bowl MVP vote would have been for Jake Elliott, because not only did he had to hit 6 extra field goals.
I know, because they kept getting flagged for penalties. Your special teams was terrible.
Which is another
he kept
thing
bailing them out.
Another thing they didn't do well, because I don't understand what either one of those penalties were for that were on the snapper.
Oh, there was a controversial false start where I didn't think the center moved, but I heard there was a lot of debate about that.
Also, credit to the Eagles' special teams did recover 2 onside kicks, which I know is really hard to recover them anyway if you're the Chiefs, but that's a talent. So, Jake Elliott definitely bailed them out. He nailed a 50-yarder. It feels like it's been 6 months since he's done that.
He was hitting right down the middle, too. He looked nothing like he's looked for the last month and a half, 2 months.
It's like, were you in a trance?
Yeah, I don't
what
know what's
happened?
going on.
No, Jake Elliott nailing all those field goals was definitely an upset.
Somebody told me their big prop of the Super Bowl was Harrison Butker over 7.5 points.
Oof.
That wasn't even close.
We didn't even see him. He didn't even do the onside kicks. Someone else did them, right?
It was a big dude.
Someone did one, Chenal or something,
non-kicker,
right?
I think it was kicking the. Yeah, it was
Like, what happened to the Chiefs?
The Chiefs were on plan like K. Plan A, B, C, D, E, F were all gone. They were on a whole different. They were on like hieroglyphics in terms of their plans.
You go to the sidelines, just a bunch of playbooks on fire. Like you shouldn't do that.
I guess in their defense, they did back in the summer talk about having what's his name? Who's their defensive back that can kick? They talked about having him kick off.
Justin Reed.
Because they wanted to have 11 guys take a tackle in this new thing. So it's not far from them to put it in the same theory as this guy onside kicks, and it's not Butker going into the pile.
Right.
It's this dude who's a linebacker, a defensive lineman trying to
And to be
recover
fair,
it.
we know our 49er fans who are so faithful to the show. We'll talk about them coming up this week. But how many kickers did they lose this year who are trying to make tackles?
True.
Like 3 different guys. All right, we got to take a quick timeout. Bogusch, thank you. See you guys on the phones. So much more to do. We got to grade more of the broadcast, the commercials, so much more of the game to get into. Oh, yeah, the game. 40-22. Perloff's Birds flying high this morning. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Here in the New York studio, Andrew Perloff in the New Orleans studio, where his birds are the toast of the town after whooping on the Chiefs. 40-22 is the final score. Was not that close. Let's get to Ramon, who's in Indianapolis, our pal. Ramon, this was just a full throttle beatdown by the Philadelphia Eagles, huh?
Yeah, good morning to everyone, and good morning, Maggie Perloff. I know I'm happy. Boy, I used to live in the Philly area. Boy, I loved it up there, back on Walt's Crabs on South Street and stuff like that. That was some years ago. But it's just wonderful. It was wonderful to see. Can we get the hate off of Jalen Hurts now? I just didn't like anything I heard from the world leader and the second world leader network last week. I mean, it's like if you win, you win. You're a winner, you're a winner, and you have to be included as a winner. And he did it yesterday with style. So I don't know if he's included in that top 5 discussion now, but I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson got to go down because winning puts you ahead of people. That's just the way it is. Charles Barkley don't like it. I'm sorry. It puts you ahead when you win. Xavier Worthy's yards, that was empty calories, as Shannon would say. The game was pretty much over. Matter of fact, in the fourth quarter, I think Philly had some last catch, those bench players in. So, he did okay. But Mahomes just looked different. He didn't look like he was used to that. Philly must have studied some real good tape on him. And getting that pressure with 4. They talked about it on NFL Network yesterday. A lot of teams now are going to look at the blueprint on getting those defensive linemen, If you get pressure with 4, look at the great Bears teams, look at the great Giants teams, even Buffalo, Bruce Smith, who I met, had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times. They got pressure with 4. Yep. If you get pressure with 4 on any team, it makes you better. So I'm rejoicing in it. We got new champion now, new team in a sport. Need to see something new in baseball, new in basketball, and keep on going. But it's just a wonderful day. And Jalen Hurts, let's get him the credit and the flowers he's due and put him now in that top 5 squarely with all the rest of those guys. What do you guys think? Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, Ramon. I mean, you're the Eagle fan, and even you call Jalen Hurts the 6th man on the team, which I don't think you mean as a slight. But what do you think?
Well, I grew up a Sixers fan, and we had Bobby Jones, 6th man of the year. It was awesome. Yeah, 6th man was probably not good. I kind of regret that statement. But I do not put him actually. I would still, if I was going to do a quarterback ranking, I don't think he cracks my top 5. And I really have to think about it. But Josh Allen, by the way, I've not gotten your take on Josh Allen winning the MVP yet because you were off Friday, and I'm dying to hear that. But still, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and obviously Patrick Mahomes have achieved a lot. Jalen Hurts is just different. He does not throw at that volume. He didn't have 3,000 passing yards this year. I know he missed a couple games, but still, how do you put him in the top 5 with those numbers?
Well, here's the thing. How about efficient? I mean, 17 for 22, 221 yards last night, 2 touchdowns. Did have that 1 pick, but it didn't lead to any points because KC had to punt after that. And then with his legs, 11 carries, 72 yards, and a touchdown on the ground, the tush push. And that was a record for champs. My thing about Jalen Hurts is whether you put him 5 or 6 or 7 or wherever you have him in terms of where he is in the NFL. I think that he is probably the most impressive to me, and here's why. The amount of humbling moments that have happened to this dude on the biggest stage, and for him to use that as fuel to make himself better. Benched in a freaking national title game, and your team goes on to win. Tua comes in and saves the day, doesn't transfer immediately, then goes to Oklahoma, loses the Heisman to Burrow, second-round pick, even though he probably should have been a first-round pick. Second-round pick, has to sit, goes to the Super Bowl, loses, then goes back to the Super Bowl, now he wins, he's MVP. Like, you know, there is part of this that is, like, bigger than the stat sheet, and I think that's the Jalen Hurts. Like, you just want to look at the numbers, you're missing the magic with Jalen Hurts because his story is so good.
That 221 has an asterisk. Everyone was watching Saquon. Easiest passing yards ever.
That from the Eagle fan who's in New Orleans still partying the night away.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Andrew Bogusch loves his turtle, call it chill shot bliss. He feeds it Kellen and lettuce, then gives it a little kiss. Andrew Bogusch's turtles got a mansion in the tank with a slide, a tiny hammock, and a treasure chest bank. Two-tone Tony rolls in, his turtles got swag. Cruising slow but steady, repping that reptile flag. Meanwhile, Kevin Lamel's got tacos on his plate. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he's got no time to wait. Turtle love, taco dreams, Andrew and Andrew living supreme. Two-ton Tony, slow and steady crew. Kevin's got breakfast tacos, what's Peter gonna do? Yo! Perloff's turtles chillin', basking in the heat. Bogusch's turtles flexing, got gold chains on its feet. Tony's turtles on TikTok, racking up views, while Kevin's tacos sizzle, serving up the news. But Bellatti's MIA, not a damn thing new. Work? Nah, he'd rather just hit snooze. We're out here hustling, making turtles the stars, and Pete's just ghosting like he's hanging on Mars. Turtle love, taco dreams, Andrew and Andrew living supreme. Two-ton Tony, slow and steady crew. Kevin's got breakfast tacos, what's Peter gonna do? Yo, Perloff's turtle spotlight, tacos taking the stage, while Bellatti's excuses keep showing his age. Perloff's turtles name LeBron, Bogusch calls his taco just for the show. Tony's turtles trending, breaking the mold. Kevin's got a taco so spicy it's gold. And Pete, yeah, fuck that guy, still a no-show. The legend of Bellotti always laying low. Turtle love, taco dreams, Andrew and Andrew living supreme. Two-ton Tony, slow and steady crew. Kevin's got breakfast tacos, what's Peter gonna do? So here's to turtles, tacos, and the crew on the grind. Except for Bellotti, who's always lagging behind. Perloff, Bogusch, Tony, Kevin, y'all are the best. But Peter Bellotti, man, he's failed the test.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Hurts back, looking. He is going deep, and it is caught. Touchdown!
The slim reaper.
Devontae Smith, 46 yards.
Eagles radio, that made it 34-0. The route was on, and the Eagles are your Super Bowl 59 champions. Andrew Perloff is still in New Orleans, the site of all the festivities and soaking it all up. I'm back in the New York studio. So glad to have you on this Super Bowl Monday. And Perloff, you were at the game. You were at the parties. What was the most improbable moment of the whole night, if there was one, in this absolute domination of what we thought was the dynasty of this era?
Okay, well, improbable based on the discussions we've had. I think that being at the Super Bowl party and watching Nick Sirianni walk in, just the look of satisfaction on that man's face, the cigar and the confidence he was walking with, it's like he had just conquered the biggest dragon of all time. And to me, this is just incredible how this man's image has turned around. He's gone from a guy who most of Philadelphia wanted to fire after week 4. It wasn't just the media. There was a fan vote that 80% of people wanted him gone. And you should have seen him last night, Maggie. He was soaking it in. This is one of the great reversals in sports coaching history to me. But the second of all is that Howie Roseman, the GM, was actually dancing. So that was my second surprise.
Does he dance like Elaine from Seinfeld? A lot of kicks, a lot of thumbs.
Yeah. No, Howie Roseman already had this great reputation. But to me, like, all of a sudden, you could see Nick Sirianni walking around like he is the man. And there's no question about it. And I think you owe him an apology.
I said he'd be the first coach fired. He definitely was incredible, really. Not only how, like, he at every point when it felt like things were getting a little bit bleak for the Eagles, or when things maybe could have fractured or maybe fell apart, the Eagles responded with a big win. And we all know in professional sports, that's the thing that matters. Like, they call it the deodorant, call it whatever you want. Winning cures it. And every moment where it felt like the team could have really gone down like a dark path, they found a way to win a game. And that's the biggest way for a coach to show and put his stamp on a team that has question marks like this. And, you know, whatever his relationship is with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and all of that, you can't question it today because obviously it all worked. Now, I will make a prediction about Nick Sirianni.
Please.
I think he's going to have a potential to be a little bit like Doug Peterson, where he wins a Super Bowl, but I don't think that he's going to have an Andy Reid-like run and be the coach of the Eagles for 14 years or something like that. I think there's something either about, I don't know, the types of coaches that they're hiring or whatever, where I don't think Sirianni is going to have this job. Like, I'd be surprised if he's still the Eagles coach in 5 years. Let's put it that way.
Oh, my God. You're taking a shot at Nick Sirianni today? What are you doing here?
I'm just saying, I saw with Doug Peterson. What happened with Doug? Doug beat Tom Brady with a backup quarterback, and he was shown the door.
Nick Sirianni's had a longer sustained winning than Doug Peterson. He's top 5 all time in regular season winning percentage, over 70%. Like, the only other names that done that are Bill Walsh and people like that.
I know, but he might have this incredible roster, Pearl. You said it yourself.
Yeah.
You wanted to give the MVP to Howie Roseman, the GM of the team.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think Nick Sirianni fits well in a GM-run team, kind of like a baseball model, a smart GM. So that's why I think that he has a chance to have sustained success here. Now, I totally understand what you're saying. The GM is fickle. He moved on from Carson Wentz, who was great when he was there for a brief period of time. So I get what you're saying. You could be right. But I think that's an interesting poll. Which is more likely? Will Nick Sirianni be gone in 5 years, or will he be a Hall of Fame coach?
Well,
and I would vote Hall of Fame coach.
Let's put it up on the poll. We've got a couple more poll questions for you. Now, Saquon Barkley last night did say he feels that the Eagles are on the doorstep of a dynasty. And, it's a fun thing to say when the confetti's falling, but, the Chiefs will tell you this is a hard thing to do. And by the way, I still consider the Chiefs a dynasty. They didn't get the three-peat, but they did win 3 in 6 years. I do think that does apply, so just to give that to them. But we have to put the GOAT discussion on pause. And we'll see if we're going to warm it back up again next season or what have you. But Brady's got it now. He can rest easy. Mahomes is on his corner, but he hasn't taken him out yet.
But he's 29.
Okay, but Brady went 10 years in between winning Super Bowls. It's possible that Mahomes could still keep going to them, but the formula's out now. Look at what the Eagles did. Look at what the Bucs did.
Yeah, the formula is make sure that you have a guard playing tackle and an undrafted free agent at guard. The Chiefs will fix that O-line. And you know why I know that? Because they did it last time. They are actually, they're resilient as all get out. They can fix things in a hurry. Now, the issue is how long will Andy Reid coach? I think that's a real issue. And when Kelsey's gone, is that going to be a big problem? But I think they've actually, because of all the Super Bowl trips, Maggie, they're challenging the Patriots. They're just as good as the Patriots dynasty.
I mean, yeah, I also want to leave a little space, and I know it hasn't happened yet, but we're talking about the AFC West, and this is going to become a bigger discussion as we move into the offseason. This might be the greatest collection of coaches that we've had in one division in a long, long time. Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and now Pete Carroll. Now, Pete Carroll's coming into a gunfight with a knife because he has no quarterback right now, and we'll see what happens. They don't have a lot of, they want to turn things around real fast, but the division's about to get a lot harder, too. I do think there are going to be some things that stack up against the Chiefs, and I think this game, despite going 15-2 over the regular season, this game showed that they have some work to do, and I have no doubt that they can do it, but it becomes a challenge just like it does for any other top team. You're picking at the bottom of the first round and every round of the draft. You got to paying guys. We'll see what happens. But what do you think about Saquon Barkley declaring that the Eagles are the next dynasty, Pearl? As the Eagle fan here who's celebrating today, how does that feel?
Absolutely. I totally agree with him. I get this strong feeling that this is not the last Eagles Super Bowl party I will be at. I don't know why. I mean, first of all, you just look at the youth of the roster. Hurts is young. Barkley himself, running backs have, pretty small shelf lives. I don't know if it's going to be Barkley. But again, Barkley was fantastic. But when you have Jordan Mailata and you have Landon Dickerson and all these, Cam Jurgens, you have that offensive line. You can replace that. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, somehow they're signed up. Dallas Goedert's fantastic. Yes, I think that there's so many pieces that this, a modern dynasty. I don't think they're going to three-peat. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're going to be back a lot. Now, the NFC, I think, actually is secretly better than the AFC, so I think they will have some challenges coming up. Maybe Detroit gets its act together. They lost their coordinator, so who knows about that. But I do think the Eagles will be back here. Maybe not every year like the Patriots did or the Chiefs did, but I think there's another ring in this particular group. How about you, Maggie? Do you think that this could be a small dynasty?
I don't know. And a couple things. I'm not trying to throw cold water. Your team was excellent last night. Mm-hmm. I mean, you left no doubt that we're so dominant. It was a blowout. We haven't had one of those in a while in a Super Bowl. It was shocking to see Mahomes play that badly and just be that under duress. And, it was pretty stunning. I mean, obviously we saw it in 2020, but there just seemed like there were so many more obvious reasons it happened in 2020. Mahomes was so much younger. The offensive line was missing so many more pieces, all of that, and lost those pieces right before the game. The thing is with the Chiefs this time around, they had to shuffle things around on the offensive line, but they had a month to all get used to each other.
But it's definitely a low-quality offensive line, extremely low.
Yeah, so they are the second highest paid, according to Spotrac, in the entire NFL.
How is that possible?
Well, they're overpaying guys, clearly.
Like who?
Like Juwan Taylor, who got absolutely worked last night. And
but
others.
He's on a short-term deal, though, so that's deceiving.
So I guess like one part about this is I would have liked to see the Philadelphia Eagles play the Detroit Lions. Now, I think that Philadelphia, listen, I'm not taking anything away from what you did last night. You are the champs with a bullet. It was phenomenal to see. But you did get a chance. You didn't have to go on the road at all in the playoffs. And the Commanders took out the Detroit Lions. So I would have liked to have seen that game. So that's just my one thing there.
Well, Jared Goff would have panicked against the Eagles, too. I mean, Jared Goff had a panic game in him, and Jared Goff single-handedly gave that game to the Commanders. Why wouldn't he do that against the Eagles?
He may have. And it would have looked 20 times worse because the Commanders' defense wasn't even that good, and the Eagles was the best in the league. So that could have been really bad. And the fact is you do have Jaden Daniels now in your division. So is that going to put up a little more resistance than what the rest of the NFC East has been kind of giving? Because, Cowboys are super up and down and probably down now for a while, and the Giants can't get their act together. Pearl, next segment, can we do your top 5 moments from being in the stadium last night?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And by the way, Jaden Daniels is on the oldest team in the NFL. The Commanders don't scare me. And one thing I want to go back, do you honestly think the Chiefs are scared of Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, and Pete Carroll? Is there a time machine to their 10 years ago for those guys? There's no way those guys are scaring Patrick Mahomes.
The Commanders.
And we came into this. You keep thinking that Sean Payton and Harbaugh are going to do this. I don't see it.
Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. Super Bowl 59 is in the books. It's Perloff's Birds that are flying high. Frank is in Georgia. Frank, what do you think, sir?
Good morning. Congratulations to the Eagles and Perloff. I called in last week, and I told you that I was secretly rooting for the Chiefs because of a house full of Eagles fans. Well, someone squealed. Someone squealed.
Oh, no.
And I'm not blaming you, Perloff, but I'm keeping my eye on you. But I ended up having to wear the Kelly Green Reggie White shirt, so it wasn't that bad. But it was a fun game to watch. We had some great food, but everyone's been talking about the defensive line and everything. But I want to really single out the defensive ends because they really contained Patrick Mahomes and really forced him to stay in the pocket. And a lot of times when he got those sacks, he was stepping up into the pocket, and the tackles are right there to take him down. So I really want to say good job to the defensive ends. Yes, there's a blueprint to beat the Chiefs, but you got to have the guys to execute that blueprint.
Frank, no doubt. It was the same. There was like a book on how to beat Tom Brady. The Giants were able to do it. You got the pressure up the middle, and then Brady would get flustered, and he wouldn't be able to get the ball out quickly. And Frank, we love the image of you secretly hiding in the kitchen, fist bumping for the Chiefs while your family of Eagle fans were like in the other room. But unfortunately, not much to fist bump about with the Chiefs last night. It was all Eagles, and thank you for the phone call. But Frank's right, Pearl. There's a playbook, but you got to execute it, and the Eagles had the roster to do it.
Yeah, I was so surprised they were contained Mahomes running out to the right, but they did an incredible job. By the way, Kelly Green, Reggie White, that is awesome. Guess, Maggie, what the most popular jersey among Eagles fans was?
Kelly Green, either Saquon or is it a current player?
Nope.
Okay, Kelly Green, Randall Cunningham.
That was very, very popular, but that was probably second. This is my informal poll.
Okay. Am I right about the Kelly Green?
It was Kelly Green and non-Kelly Green. It wasn't specific, but there was one jersey I saw the most of. And I'll give you a hint. It doubles as formal wear in Philadelphia.
Brian Dawkins.
There were so many 20s. It was unbelievable. It is by far the most popular former player. Randall and Brian Dawkins are 1 and 2.
I don't know if there's another city in America where you can wear a player's jersey to both a wedding and a funeral. Like the Brian Dawkins jersey is totally appropriate to wear in Philadelphia to both a black tie affair and also to say your final respects to a loved one or a friend.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for Philadelphia royalty, I think there's Ben Franklin, Dr. J. We used to have Cosby. We don't have him anymore. So I would go maybe Bradley Cooper and Brian Dawkins. That's about like the Mount Rushmore to me.
Rocky? You're not going to put Sly up there?
Well, he's fictional. I guess you
could have fooled me, guys. You celebrated more than Joe Frazier, so I wasn't sure if you all knew that.
Yeah, Joe. I should have gone with Joe Frazier. You're right. I can't put Rocky in there, but that would have been a good call too.
By the way, did they end up playing the Rocky song?
No.
Okay. Because
There
they
was
did in
something
Minnesota.
weird. Well, somebody in Minnesota must have cheated because there were no team-specific hype videos. How they let a Rocky video in the third quarter to fire up the Eagles against Tom Brady's Patriots, I have no idea. They weren't doing any of that bias stuff. And obviously the Eagles didn't need the just win. What was it? Yeah, just win, Rock.
No, you were winning by
do you want me
3
to sing
scores.
The song? Would you like me to do or hum the song, the instrumental?
You know, why don't we hold on for that? Let's go to Wilson, who's in California, has been waiting patiently. Hey, Wilson, how are you? Save us.
Well, I'm doing well this morning. Congratulations to Andrew Perloff. Great victory. And to answer that previous question, as a former Raiders season ticket holder up here, yeah, I'm very happy to see the Chiefs go down. Thank you. I have two takes. The first one was, in the last 2 weeks, we heard a lot about, officials' bias favoring the Chiefs, and it almost became a narrative for a while. And during that game, you had 2 early calls early in the game, that were commented about. But I'm glad that did not become the narrative as the game went on. That just the excellence and the beatdown that Philly was putting on the Chiefs, during the game, that they got that out of the way early. And, yeah, I mean, because we heard it all week, and you know what I'm saying. The other thing is, late in the game, you start to hear the Chiefs' war cry, okay? Now, Andrew, I knew you were there in the stands, okay? And knowing Philly fans, was that Philly fans mocking the Chiefs fans by doing their war cry?
Well, it must have been. I actually did not hear that, but that has to be it because there was not enough people there to do a war cry. All the people in red had left.
When did they start heading to the exits? And thank you for the call, Wilson.
Yeah, fourth quarter, but, I was just thinking about something, Maggie.
Oh.
Win.
Thank you, Manny.
What are we waiting for? Take this!
Sorry, Manny's mad at me because I tried to sneak the sound in on my phone. I didn't think you guys would allow me to play that. So I was like, wait, I had this whole elaborate plan.
No,
Anyway.
Listen, it's your day. You get to play the Eagles stuff, all the Rocky stuff. It's always hilarious that he's going, take this, and it's a piece of cake in his hands, which is always just a funny.
But I have a question, an important question, Maggie,
Yeah.
that was on my mind. What are we waiting for?
Listen, guys, we got to let Perloff get it all out. Get it all out of your system today. You deserve it. Birds are the champs. We saw Bourbon Street, Broad Street, everyone flooded on the streets. I haven't seen any negative reports coming out of that yet, too. So hope everybody is staying really safe there. We are asking you on X, did it feel good to see the Chiefs get crushed in the Super Bowl? You just heard from Wilson. He's like, yeah, I did like seeing the Chiefs get smacked around a little bit. I think a lot of people did. And the fact that the referee calls did not become the story of the game. The story of the game is the Eagles' full dominance of the Chiefs, Pearl. But I'm going to be honest. Early on, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Here we go. And it started on the first drive when A.J. Brown got called for what looked like a ticky-tack offensive pass interference on a gutsy 4th down call, a 4th and 2. They don't go to the tush-push. In fact, it's Jalen Hurts in the gun. And he goes down the sideline to A.J. Brown for a huge connection, 30 yards or something, 22 yards, whatever it was, 32 yards. And they nullify it with the OPI. It was like, oh, man, don't get us started with this. But then they did do a little bit of a makeup call, giving Dallas Goedert an unnecessary roughness call when Hurts threw the ball high and McDuffie went up and they kind of grazed helmets. It didn't even look like there was any contact. And then we were kind of off then.
Yeah, A.J. Brown later on ran a sideline route and pushed the guy with 2 hands, and they didn't call it. So they did do a bunch of makeup calls. I really did not like The 2nd and 26, they called a personal foul for a late hit on Saquon Barkley. That was, not that the game was going to change, but that was a massive call. I couldn't believe. I don't like, Maggie, I think we have a big officiating problem with personal fouls. Like, that is where, and you called for that since the Sam Darnold play early in the season, you want face masks to be reviewable. I think that's really where officials have to look. Like, the level of contact for a personal foul seems inconsistent.
Absolutely. And it looks like they are going to take a look at face masks, or at least they're going to put it up for committee. I mean, you got 150 cameras. Like, let's get this right, guys. 855-212-4227. Keep your calls coming. Did you like seeing the Chiefs get smacked around last night? And then also, do we have to put a pause on the Mahomes GOAT talk for now? Three-Peat would have been special. For now,
Maggie,
yes. Go ahead, Pearl.
If people don't like a possible three-peat Chiefs, can you imagine if the Philadelphia Eagles were on the brink of a three-peat? The hatred, because people hate the Eagles. If they were good and you had them shoved down your face for 3 years in a row, even I might start to hate the Eagles.
You know, it's so right. You basically, Perloff, like, you get a day. Like, I hope you're really enjoying this, because after today, like, it's no one's ever, like, the country is not going to be behind you like this tomorrow. Let's just call it what it is. So hopefully you're enjoying it today. All right, coming up next, Perloff will give us his top 5 moments from being in the stadium last night to watch the Birds win. We'll get to that and more of your calls in just moments. It's M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Amazing, with the mayor at the end to come in. Apparently, this is a hard word to say. I thought you had to be like 40 Yinglings deep to not remember how to spell the word Eagles, but apparently it hangs some people up. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. A happy Andrew Perloff today. His birds are sitting at the top of the NFL mountain. He's still in New Orleans, soaking it all up. We're going to get his top 5 moments from the game in just a minute. I'm back here in New York, and we are asking you a question. Do we pause the GOAT debate now that Patrick Mahomes got fully throttled in last night's game? And also, did you like watching the Chiefs get smacked around a little bit in the Super Bowl? This one, pretty lopsided. All right, Pearl, you got your top 5 moments from yesterday?
I'm ready to go.
All right, Manny, let's give him a little music.
Oh, yes. I like that we're going with heavy NFL Films music for this, even though the points are kind of light. By the way, Maggie, the lights stayed on. I don't know if that was clear on TV. That's not one of my points, but it was a lot better than last Super Bowl. Okay, I'm going to start. Number 5, I have to tell you, and I don't know what showed up on TV, it was by far the simplest halftime set physically I've ever seen. Normally, it takes an army of workers to bring the Super Bowl halftime stage on and off. It was done in 5 minutes. It was easy. Did that translate on TV? I was curious.
Not really, but if you want to shout out the grounds crew, we're always here for that.
No, I'm not shouting out the grounds crew. Kendrick Lamar didn't have anything fancy. Did you remember the army that it took to put Rihanna's set out there? I'm just saying, like, they didn't try to do anything physically different with the Super Bowl set, which I thought was a really interesting choice.
No, that is good. And actually, the last time we were in New Orleans, you said the lights stayed on. But remember, Beyonce was out there with, like, it was a Destiny's Child reunion.
Yeah.
And those other 2 chicks literally fell through a trap door, like, after 15 seconds on the stage. It was much more elaborate. You're right.
What happened to 50 Cent hanging upside down from a building they somehow constructed on the 40-yard line and somehow got rid of in the L.A. Super Bowl? It was crazy simple. Okay, number 4 is actually a football point. I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the All-22 yet. The wide receivers were so startlingly open for the Philadelphia Eagles because it started out with 8 guys in the box and 9 guys in the box and 10 guys in the box. Every single Chiefs defender was up at the line. So every single time A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were streaking past the cornerbacks. The Eagles just didn't either have time to throw deep or didn't want to throw deep because they were trying to control the clock. But it became almost a joke how open the Eagles receivers were downfield.
Is that why you said they could have hung 50 on them?
Easily. They could have done exactly what they did to the Commanders. Easily.
Do you think they were trying to get a moment for Saquon then? Why do you think they aired it out anymore? Oh, they just wanted to kill clock.
Yeah. I know, which is very dangerous against the Chiefs because that's how you basically let a comeback. But they did the opposite of Kyle Shanahan in the 28-3 game. They definitely were very conservative. That by the end of the game, all they cared about was the clock. And then Kenny Pickett came in. For a second, I thought he was going to blow it. But, okay, number 3. It's an inside media baseball thing, Maggie, but I didn't know this. Maybe I missed it. I was not allowed in the locker room after the game. And I was told by an NFL person why. Can you guess why a large chunk of the media was not allowed in the locker room?
I think probably because the locker rooms aren't big enough.
Nope. The guy who stole Tom Brady's jersey changed everything. That's what I heard. That was a theory. But apparently, and maybe I missed it, they severely limit locker room access to the media. Only like a select few people get to go in there.
Because that guy stole the jersey and absconded to Mexico with it?
That's what I heard.
Everyone.
Yeah, I know. That guy, I just know that whole story. It's like, you know how you love the Ipe story?
Yeah,
I knew you loved that guy with the Tom Brady jersey, so I wanted to bring that up.
And they got it back, right? I think that ended with our colleagues Jenny Vrentis and Robert Klemko in Mexico, in a Jeep on some back road trying to find the jersey. I kid you not.
Yeah, you would watch a 30 for 30 on that over anything. Okay, number 2, no surprise. Security was bananas. It was hard to get anywhere near the stadium. Once you did get in, they basically wanted you down for an extra 3 minutes. And I was nervous because obviously probably the 2 biggest Americans were there, Donald Trump and Taylor Swift. So they, and because of the sad tragedy in New Orleans, it was like an army base at the Superdome. You felt really secure, though. They did an amazing job. So a lot of credit to New Orleans. And Maggie, I know you agree. New Orleans did a killer job this week.
Yeah, we did feel very, very safe there. At every point, everyone was definitely on top of their game. They were way more engaged than the Kansas City Chiefs looked in that first half.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, number 1, I've said it before. I'm going to go 10-1 in the stadium, Eagles fans. Waiting in the bathroom line, every single time, somebody starts an Eagles chant. Going to get a hot dog, Eagles chant. The number of green jerseys, unbelievable. You walk down the hallways, you would have thought you were in the link. TV could not do it justice, the Eagles' presence. It was overwhelming. They were loud. They were obnoxious. It was a full Philadelphia experience in the Superdome last night.
Go Birds! So those are Perloff's top 5 moments from being in the Superdome last night to watch his Birds win. Here's the one thing about the Eagles fans, they took over. It was easy to hear on TV how loud they were. But I want to, that's not killing Chiefs fans. It is so expensive to go to these games. And the fact that your team makes it back so many times in a row, I mean, who can afford to keep going to these games? If you are a diehard Chiefs fan and you're not Paul Rudd, you've probably been to year 1. You're ponying up the money for the flights. The hotels are outrageous. Then you just get to the tickets.
Yep.
And Pearl, you told me that even on the Eagles side, you had heard that the tickets were massively expensive, even more so than 2017 when they won for the first time in their history, which you would think the demand would have been out of control for that one. I get it why fans have to at some point say enough's enough. We're not all made of money,
Absolutely. They actually went up significantly from 2 years ago from Glendale, Arizona. By the way, I had one thing from the party. The party was amazing. A good friend got me in. It was fantastic. Guess who the Eagle who was on stage the most, danced the most, tried to sing into a mic that wasn't unplugged? Dallas Goedert thinks he's a full-on performer. It's the funniest thing. All the people are up there, but Dallas Goedert keeps on going in the front and trying. He was hyping up the crowd the entire time. He's the number 1 party guy on the Eagles. I never would have predicted that.
That's awesome. I'm surprised your top 5 didn't have any celebrities in it because you're Mr. Celeb.
Oh, Shane Gillis almost ran into me at the Eagles party. I was thinking more atmosphere of the stadium. I wasn't thinking of the party. Now, the party was big. I'm sure there were a lot of celebrities that I had no access to. You know how these things are. There's like one room for the main people. Then there's some secret back room where Nick Sirianni went into. So there's another party that I have. Meek Mill is there, I'm sure. I don't know what's going on behind that closed door.
Yeah, there's always a back room.
Oh,
always
my
a back
God.
room.
Yeah.
You might not always want to go through that back room, but it's always back there.
Yeah, and the Philly celebrities were on fire last night. Bradley Cooper, again, Shane Gillis. He's all of a sudden attached himself to this team. Pete Davidson, I'm sure, was there. You know how Pete Davidson, the former SNL star, he's now best friends with Big Dom, and everyone is seeing them hanging out everywhere. Did you know that little fact?
I didn't, but I saw Pete Davidson all over in the Eagles gear. I'm like, dude, you're Staten Island. Like, you got two. He's a Jets fan, isn't he?
He's connected to Big Dom. They're very, very tight now.
Oh, well, excuse me. I didn't realize Big Dom was involved.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying.
I'll back off.
Yeah. Would you not think that Pete Davidson and Big Dom would be good friends?
Well, I'm glad that Bogusch is sitting in here now because he's got updates for us. I didn't realize Anne Hathaway was a big Eagles fan.
Wait, she was at the stadium?
Crush. They showed her on TV. She's got Eagles green on. She's from
Jersey,
but
that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, no, she was rooting for the Eagles because the video shows her rooting for the Eagles.
Yeah.
But how about all of America finally agreeing with me that Anne Hathaway is amazing and awesome? And everyone in the show is just like, ooh, Anne Hathaway? Really, bro?
Well, when did America do that? Last night?
All I saw on social media was, wow, Anne Hathaway looks amazing. Wow, Anne Hathaway's awesome. Wow, wow. I was right.
It's not like we thought Anne Hathaway was a dog, EJ. What are you talking about?
Oh, come
one of the
on
most
now.
popular
I'm about to pull up the archive. You guys were ripping me.
No, no one said she was ugly. We just said she was a unique choice for like your number one celebrity crush.
Yeah.
You might as well say she had a good personality.
She's beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. She's Anne Hathaway, dude. She's like does modeling. Everyone knows
the
that.
capping happening right now is insane. Because it's not like I was not roasted on this show when I said Anne Hathaway was my crush.
No, we did. We all we sat there. We were like, Anne Hathaway.
Yes, exactly.
Not Sydney Sweeney. Not
Not who I partied with on Friday night, by the way.
You didn't.
No big deal.
Wow. Now we're getting the real stories.
Oh, yeah. Put a poll up, Sydney Sweeney versus your guy, Anne Hathaway.
She's a girl, so.
Your guy. Yeah.
Well, we do polls. It's, yeah.
Oh,
I was
goodness.
basically dancing with Miles Teller and Sydney Sweeney. And when I say dancing with, I was watching Miles Teller dance, and my friend said he saw Sydney Sweeney, who was apparently paid to be there.
I showed up at a party on Thursday, and as I'm entering, Ludacris is leaving. And I'm like, this party just started. The way these celebrities get paid for appearances and decide, I've done my 5 minutes, I'm gone. This guy, Ludacris, could not have walked faster to this Suburban that was outside of this club we were at.
He's got somewhere to be.
Do you think he was going to stop and talk to you and just hang out for 10
No,
minutes?
but the party was like 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in. It wasn't like I came super late. It was like a fashionably late deal, and he was gone.
You missed it.
What would you have said to him if you did get to corner him?
I'm like, yo, I love your music. You're awesome. Like, you're one of the most underrated rappers ever. I love Ludacris, actually.
No, he is fantastic. I didn't realize, speaking of rappers and ones of a lot of acclaim, that in New Orleans, the Juvenile song, for radio, they say that thing up. You guys can back that thing up.
Spell it, Maggie.
They actually spell AZZ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That works.
So that song actually has a day in New Orleans. June 24th, 2024 was proclaimed by the mayor of New Orleans as Back That Thing Up Day in New Orleans.
Mark it on my calendar.
I was going to say. So, shout out to everyone who celebrates Back That Thing Up Day.
How did you find this out? Did you back it up on the wrong day and you were told otherwise?
Lady,
okay.
Get a clue.
I don't. By the way,
June 23rd.
That's where you were on Friday. You were in lockup for backing it up on the wrong day.
I didn't actually have the flu. I was violating a city ordinance when I backed that thing up on the wrong day.
Waiting to see a judge.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm a tourist. I got my days mixed up. No, my friend told me.
EJ had an amazing getting blown off by an NFL player. We're not going to say who it was, but EJ, little earnest EJ at a party tried to make a friend and was shot down as hard as I've seen or heard of a player shooting down as.
Can I guess who it is?
I don't mind naming them, but yeah, sure.
Is it a Jet?
Same city.
The hell was a Jet going to be doing at the Super Bowl?
Other city.
Ooh, Malik Neighbors?
Well, Jermaine Johnson was there. No crutches or anything. So
it was a giant.
Yeah.
It was Malik Neighbors.
I mean, no.
Tommy
Malik
DeVito.
Neighbors seems nice.
Sexy Dexy?
No.
Oh, Thibodeau.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
right.
He's not
Of
stopping.
course.
Of course. All I said was, yo, what's up? All I said was, yo, what's up, Kayvon? He looked at me, just kept going. I'm like, you can't say, oh, what's up? That's all I asked. I didn't want to even, like, mingle or anything.
What, was Perloff in his Umbro running shorts next to you stretching? Was that the problem?
Maybe that was the problem,
By
yeah.
the way, if you guys
Probably
have
need to wear
not
more
seen
clothes.
the Jerry the Bull McCormick video that Perloff did in the French Quarter, where he pretended to be an old Eagles backup to the defensive line coach or whatever you said, the assistant to the assistant.
Right.
It is so funny. You guys did such a great job. It's on our social media. You are Jerry the Bull McCormick.
Yeah. I walked in those short shorts around New Orleans. A lot of people said in so many words, nice bleep. Thank you.
One guy,
Also not back that thing up day.
One guy, I couldn't get it in the video because he couldn't hear him well enough. But one guy yelled, "Hey, I can see your underwear under your shorts, bro." So funny.
That didn't make the cut.
It's too low. You couldn't hear it, but I heard him.
Oh, man. Yes, check out the Jerry the Bull McCormick video. We did a couple videos outside of Radio Row. We did that. We did a crawfish eating challenge at the Seafood Boil, the world famous place, which Perloff smoked me. And it was like Eagles Chiefs. I was the Chiefs in this one. And we also went to an alligator farm and got a tour from Richard, who only had 6 fingers. Bogusch, we've left you no time. Can you stick around?
The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Back to you, Maggie.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give you the option if you want to stick around after this. See you guys on the phones. We will give a grade to some of the other things that happened in the Super Bowl. Broadcasts, commercials, everything else that we saw. We'll do that along with more game breakdown in just moments.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff on a victory Monday for Pearl. His Birds won Super Bowl 59, and they did it in dominant fashion, taking down the Chiefs, stopping a dynasty, and making history themselves in the process. Let's get to the phones, 855-212-4227. Jeff is in Tucson. We're asking if we have to pause the Mahomes GOAT debate for now, considering how he played yesterday and how he was unable to complete the three-peat. What's up, Jeff?
Morning, Maggie. Morning, Andrew. Hey, thanks for taking my call. One of the things I wanted to say is that I think that Brady was saying under his breath, not so fast, as Corso would say. And I think there was a little glee in his announcing yesterday every time Mahomes got sacked. So the dynasty may be on hold for the time being, but I do think that if Kelsey does retire, that kid from Penn State may plug in really good to tight end to that kind of offense. You know, that's the first thing I wanted to say.
He's gone in 6 picks, dude.
Yeah, Jeff, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be able to get Ty Warren, who's the outstanding tight end from Penn State. He might be well off the board by the time that the Chiefs are picking.
Really? You think that he's going to go that soon? All right. Well, I was just looking at that as an option. And the other thing I wanted to say to you, Drew, is that I know that I was sitting at home yesterday, and the Eagles got this big lead, 24-0 at halftime, and I actually thought about you. Sitting at home, thinking, man, I'm so glad for you because, you know, I'm a lifelong suffering Browns fan. So anytime you can win a Super Bowl, anytime you can get to the Super Bowl is a win, you know what I mean, in my book. So congrats to you. And Maggie, it's going to be so suffering you for the next week.
Oh,
this is going to go for a week.
Jeff, if this only lasted a week, I'd sign up for that. I'm serving a life sentence now. Do you realize? I got Andrew Perloff fresh off of, excuse me, my flu came back.
Yeah. But, Maggie, here's the thing. You have to know that if the Bills were in the Super Bowl and my Eagles were not, you know me well enough to know I would jump on that Bills bandwagon and I would glom onto your fandom and just pretend I was a Bills fan.
I know, which is not right, and it's not okay. But what Jeff doesn't understand is that the courtesy that Jeff is extending to you to say, hey, my team's not in it, I'm glad your team won it, is something that you would never do to somebody else. We established this last week. You don't want to see anyone else's teams win, except if maybe you climb on the bandwagon in some kind of phony, fugazi way. But you only want you to be happy, no one else to be happy.
Well, you have to look at a bigger picture. the Bills were in the AFC title game and the Eagles were in the NFC title game. So if the Eagles were out of it, then I would have just rooted for the Bills. But I couldn't have the Bills advance and the Eagles not advance because that would have hurt. And also, too, I hate Manny and EJ's fandom so much. Like, I'm openly against that. I mean, you understand why, right?
Their teams won a combined 8 games this year. I mean, they're so far away from this conversation.
It's the Knicks.
Oh yeah, I knew that wasn't about football talk.
Yeah, no, the Knicks the Knicks you may have to deal with.
We are the New York Knicks.
Well, we've got a while. It's not basketball. We're not turning the page fully to basketball yet, although we do have some Luka Doncic stuff.
I hate your Mets fandom too, Maggie, because they paid so much for Juan Soto. That's hateable.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
The
That's
Phillies
fine.
definitely don't. They definitely bargain shop for their free agents.
Whatever, dude.
Let's go to Ken, who's in Baltimore. Keep it on the Super Bowl. What's up, Ken?
Hey, Maggie, how you doing? The first thing I want to say is I used to call you and Moose all the time, so I miss you.
Ken, I remember. Thank you so much for calling then and now. What's on your mind?
This is my first time. I want to challenge Perloff, and I want you and EJ to break this ice. Perloff said earlier, and hi, Perloff. Perloff said earlier that this defense would have ate Brady up. I beg to differ. If Brady was on KC, first thing is, Mahomes, this is when being a running quarterback hurts you. What Brady would have done, he'd have figured it out. He'd have dinked and dunked. 2 yards here, 2 yards there, 2 yards, first down. That's all he would have been doing to loosen up Philly's defense. And Mahomes, he just started running all over the place, throwing the ball all over the place and panicking. That's not Brady's game. He'd have been doing the 2-yarders. A quick slant. Poof, poof, poof. That's Brady's game. That's why he's the GOAT, and Mahomes can't catch him.
Ken,
what do y'all think?
Interesting. And thanks so much for calling, Ken. Great to hear from you. I do remember you calling back in those Saturday morning days, and that was a lot of fun. What do you think, Perloff?
I disagree, because the reason there was no short passing to be had is because the Chiefs have no vertical threat. So the Eagles defenders were not giving them any cushion at all. Like, why are you going to give DeAndre Hopkins any cushion? He's not running by you. Maybe 4 years ago. Why are you giving Kelsey any cushion? The Eagles defense moved up. They were not scared at all because there was no deep threat at all. And they knew Mahomes couldn't stand there back enough because there were so many battles won up front. I mean, no one's going to block Jalen Carter, but all the other guys, Josh Sweat was unblockable. So there was no deep threat, so they kept moving up. There was no short game to be had.
Yeah, but to be fair for Brady, but take out the years he had Moss when he actually didn't win. You know, without Randy Moss, who was Brady's? Who are the burners? Like
Brady
was going
to
Welker and Amendola, and I think and Edelman and Gronk. Like he really didn't need burners either. He might have been able to quick pass him to death, but I don't know.
Well, it would have been the Giants game.
Yeah.
What was that, 21-17, the Tyree catch game? He would have had trouble because Jalen Carter would come up the middle. We're not even talking about Jalen Carter today because they did kind of contain him, but I think there was a cost to that. So I think Brady would have had the same problems that you said earlier in the show. Coming up the middle is hard for any quarterback.
But that's actually why I agree with the caller about Brady having more success, because Brady didn't make those disastrous plays against the Giants. The Giants were beating them up the middle, off the edges. They were crushing them. But guess what? Those games were close. You know why? Because Brady didn't make the disastrous interception.
But he wasn't down 2 touchdowns, EJ. He wasn't forced to, he was up. He didn't need to throw. He didn't need to make a play.
No, but they were down in part because of a pick six. Like you're down 10-0. That's not an insurmountable lead. Like the game is still in the balance, right? You threw a pick six deep in your own territory. That's not desperation. That's just playing football.
But there was nothing. There was nowhere to go.
No, there were some times where he missed some check downs for some bigger throws where he either got sacked or the Gene play, he got picked off. So it wasn't like there was nothing available. There were some plays where he could have checked down and he said he wanted to make the bigger play. Maybe it was desperation, maybe it was whatever. I'm just saying I've watched Brady play against a defense like that, and they weren't down 40-6. He kept those games close.
This is so sad to see your Chiefs hatred now making you praise Tom Brady. It's hatred, dude.
To be fair, Mahomes said it. I mean, he's like, it was my turnovers that put us in a bad spot. And I actually did see Chiefs superfan Nick Wright, who's on Fox Sports 1, say, all right, the Chiefs are down 10-0. Now the Super Bowl can start. He said, this is like a weird thing about this dynasty is that they're always playing from behind, and it's true. And this time, the Eagles just gave them no daylight. And also, when the Chiefs had moments where you thought they could crawl back into the game, it was a drop. It was a penalty. Yeah. It was the Mahomes interception or the Mahomes other interception. You know, they kept doing things, and the Eagles were baiting them into things. I think that just made a comeback impossible. Yeah. And instead, the opposite happened, a total blowout.
Man, they need a healthy Rashee Rice, and they need to throw to Worthy more. They do not have weapons.
Did the pressure get to Kansas City? Why did they look so flat coming out in that game last night? We'll dive into that next. 855-212-4227. It's Maggie and Perloff. Perloff's birds are sky high.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Mahomes is back. He's hit. He's hit. He fumbles the football. A fight for the ball, and the Eagles have it.
Yes, they do.
They hit Mahomes. It was Jalen Carter who broke down on Mahomes and smashed the ball away.
Eagles radio was the third turnover of the game, and it was a rout. The Philadelphia Eagles are your Super Bowl champions. The final score was 40-22. It did not seem that close at all. The Eagles got whatever they wanted. They were led by that amazing defense. It was a pick six on Mahomes, an interception, and then the strip sack, the fumble recovered by the Eagles, and they are flying high. Welcome Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff in New Orleans this morning celebrating his birds. He was at the game last night. He was at the party last night. Is it sinking in yet, Pearl?
Go Birds! Well, it is weird. I have to tell you, it's a lot different. The second ring is a lot different than the first one. It's awesome, but that first one was such an incredible sigh of relief for the Eagles who had never won a Super Bowl. This feels more like the beginning of a dynasty, if that makes sense. This feels like part of a process, and it was incredible. The other thing was how easy the win was. My dad gets incredibly anxious watching Eagles games. I called him from the stadium as the clock was winding down. He was easy breezy, Maggie. It was like not only did they win, they didn't put their fans through the normal hell of a close NFL game. I don't think I could have handled that. I don't think any Philadelphia fans could have handled going mano a mano against Mahomes in the fourth quarter. So to put him away that early was an incredible bonus for the Eagles.
Well, you never let Boogeyman Mahomes appear in this movie. It was no one behind the shed, in the closet, under the bed. That guy never came out because the Eagles' defense was so suffocating, and because Mahomes made some uncharacteristic mistakes. Mm-hmm. Instead, it was the Eagles who became the boogeyman. Mahomes, 3 turnovers. That it just does not happen. I mean, literally, like Mahomes hasn't given away 3 turnovers in a playoff game since he became the starter. It was the first game that the Chiefs had 3 turnovers since week 2 of this season. Like, we don't see it. We'll see them lose. We saw them lose to Tampa Bay. It's possible, but I didn't think they were going to look this flat. And I'm a little surprised this morning, and we're asking you a couple questions. Number one, was it fun to see the Chiefs get smacked around a little bit? We talked a lot about Chiefs fatigue. Eagles went in there and extinguish all hope. This was the second largest halftime margin that we've seen in the Super Bowl era. And then it just got worse in the second half. So did you like watching the Chiefs get smacked around a little? And do we have to pause some of the GOAT talk with Mahomes and Brady because Mahomes was not able to complete the three-peat and because he didn't play well last night? So that's 855-212-4227. Can I tell you someone who I feel like is skating here?
Yeah.
With taking no blame whatsoever is Andy Reid. The team looked flat. The Eagles had the better game plan. Okay, maybe the Eagles had the better roster, but you have the greatest quarterback maybe of all time. We were an hour, hour away from saying that. That should be the great equalizer, and yet it wasn't. I feel like Andy Reid had no answers whatsoever for everything that the Chiefs dialed up. And EJ was just making a point in my ear about this. It also seemed like the Eagles were very aware of what the Chiefs were going to even be attempting to run. They were not fooled by anything.
Well, I think they got down, and they got one-handed. They had no run game. So you saw the Chiefs came out this year, opening week against Baltimore, and they just ran Isaiah Pacheco right down the other team's throat. So they couldn't run the ball. So once it was, you knew Patrick Mahomes had to drop back. The Eagles knew it. The whole crowd knew it. The whole TV audience knew it. So I think they became predictable because of game flow.
Okay, but see, this is funny because I feel like Andy Reid has become kind of a bit of a magician here in terms of pulling out that trick play when you needed something or finding a way to get a spark. Now, to be fair, there were times when just the players let them down. Like DeAndre Hopkins had an unfathomable drop where
he lost his footing.
He lost his footing, okay, but just, I mean, that really could have helped them. The Chiefs couldn't get over midfield, Pearl. I mean, it was just thorough domination, and the fact that nothing they could do worked made it look like Andy Reid was caught with this Cheesecake Factory menu full of plays and absolutely nothing to go to.
When you get three plays, you can't run a trick play. You can't have 3 and outs and make a trick play. That is exactly what happened. And now I'm not blaming Reid for that because you need to have the ball and you need to move down the field and you need to get something going and you need to get the defense off balance. And there wasn't any of that. Now, maybe that's Andy Reid's fault, but I think the slow start. Now, again, the Chiefs always come back and 10-0 doesn't seem like a insurmountable deficit, but they weren't moving the ball at all. They really had they got one sort of first down to pass, I think, to Juju Smith-Schuster. You can't go 3 and out and expect to come back like that. I thought it felt like 10-0 felt like a lot bigger score. Like the Eagles could have been up way more because they were outplaying them so soundly. The Eagles receivers were wide open and the Chiefs receivers were so blanketed. I got to tell you, there wasn't an inch of room. Mahomes had no one to throw to.
Andrew Perloff is down at our sister station in New Orleans, still was in the building last night to watch the Chiefs win, went to the party, did the whole thing. I'm here in New York, in New Orleans. So here's the thing. That 10-0 lead lasted for about 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Because it was 17-0 before you could blink. And that's after the Eagles went up 10-0. Then this was the next drive for the Chiefs. Mahomes sacked on first down.
Yep.
Mahomes sacked on second down. 3rd and 16, interception by Cooper DeJean, who gets into the end zone at 17-0. Those might have been the 3 worst plays in a row I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes, I want to say execute, be a part of in his entire history as a quarterback. I want to say even probably going back to college, but I don't have all the Texas Tech film. Then you have to wonder, how are you going to respond? Okay. You're one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. You're the most accomplished quarterback under the age of 30 that we've ever seen. You have all this wealth of experience. And the next drive, Pacheco minus 2 yards, Pacheco for 3, and then another sack, and you're punting the ball away.
And why is that on Mahomes?
Nothing. No, I'm just saying, this was that's when I knew the game was lost.
Yeah. Well, the 2 sacks you mentioned on that first drive, we'll look at the tape. I'm sure there was nobody open. I'm almost positive. Maybe Worthy because he's so fast, but there was nowhere to go. 3rd and 16.
Yeah.
That's when you throw an arm punt.
Yeah.
That's when you throw the ball 30 yards downfield. Now, I guess you couldn't tackle the interceptor. There's a little bit of bad luck on that, but that's when you make a play like that, or you try to make a play like that. You're down. It's, what's the difference? Usually it's a 40-yard interception compared to a 50-yard punt. That is not that's not the worst play. If Cooper DeJean had caught it and went down, it would have been basically a punt, Maggie.
I disagree. I don't think it was that. I mean, it was a 30. What did he return the ball for? It was 30-yard return.
It wasn't that deep a pass.
Yeah, I don't think it was that.
But it wasn't a screen pass. It wasn't like he was trying to make a play on 3rd and 16. That's what you do, right?
Listen,
what did you want him to just check the ball down?
No,
but to me, that's worse.
See, I don't know though because
is it Trubisky? Do you want to throw on 3rd and 16 a 4-yard pass? What is the point of that?
Well, here's the thing, right? There also is what a lot of quarterbacks say, which is to live to see another day. And the thing is about this is, what these Super Bowls often come down to, which is who doesn't make the mistake. And it was a mistake. We can call it what it is. We can still love Mahomes, Perloff, and you can call it what it is. He made a mistake throwing that ball, and he made the mistake throwing the ball right to Zach Bond, who, for the second interception, now let's be fair,
that was
Bond
not right
made
to
a
Zach.
very,
Again, there's
very
nothing about
athletic
that
play.
There's nothing about that pass was right to Zach Bond. It's not like Zach Bond was standing there and it just hit him in the chest. He dove like 6 feet in the air like Superman.
Perloff, how easy do you want it to be? I mean, these are professional athletes. Zach Bond basically, yes, had to lean out and grab the ball. But it's not like he didn't make this. He didn't make an Odell Beckham.
Grab the ball.
Perloff,
lean out and grab the ball. I can lean out and grab the ball. I have the athleticism to do that. Zach Bond made a ridiculous play on that ball.
That ball was behind Hollywood Brown, though.
It's not even getting to Brown anyway. Mahomes said it was late, and it wasn't the Odell Beckham catch. Let's not make it out to be that. Yes, it was a very athletic play, no doubt. But Mahomes also has to be smarter there because here's the thing. Your team actually may still have been in it. At that point, may have still have been in it. And it was Mahomes' turnovers that took them out of it because they led to 14 points, one on the pick six and the other the Zach Bond, and they scored 2 plays later.
When Jared Goff was throwing picks against the Commanders, there were plays where the defensive back could call a fair catch and just let it hit him in the chest.
Yeah.
Remember DeMar Hamlin's pick earlier? There are picks that are so easy. What Mahomes was doing, he was desperately trying to make a play because he knew he did not have the firepower last night. So he knew he had to try something. Now, he tried too hard to make a play. But honestly, if it's 3rd and 16 and you throw a 5-yard pass in that situation, then just go home. Like, what's the point? Just let Carson Wentz come in or whoever the backup is. Because I do not – you're telling me that was a horrible play. Yes, of course it was. But the other option was and just check it down for 5 yards and punt. That's not live another day. That's just giving up.
Okay, but here's the thing. Jalen Hurts had actually thrown an interception one drive earlier, okay? You didn't know where this was going to go. The game was still in the balance. There was nothing that really said that Hurts was going to lay an egg here, but he did throw that interception also early in the game.
Yeah.
So to me,
they got them down to the 3-yard line.
I know, and actually then the Chiefs were all backed up and it was like a little bit dicey.
Oh.
But here's the thing, like we didn't know how the game flow was going to go and that this was going to be such a blowout, and Mahomes' mistakes ushered in a blowout.
No. When that interception went down the 3-yard line, the way the pass rush was going, everyone in the stadium knew that was a very, very dangerous spot. That was bad news because you could just see that Kansas City could not block the Eagles at all. So that was almost like there are points coming out of this. I knew it. Everyone else there knew it. I think the Kansas City O-line knew it. Poor Joe Thuney and Mike Caliendo, to put them deep in there, that was sad. I actually felt bad for the Chiefs O-linemen. They didn't have a prayer.
They were overmatched. They were very overmatched. They are the second most highest paid offensive line in the NFL. And to be fair, they did have some time to gel. They did have some time to get ready. This was not like Tampa where they lost one of their offensive linemen. I think it was Eric Fisher, was it, who went down in the AFC Championship game? Like they lost guys right before the Super Bowl. You thought this crew was going to be able to put up some kind of resistance against the Eagles. That was not the case. They need to look in the mirror.
First of all, the Chiefs, I think Trey Smith, their all-pro or Pro Bowl at least, is a free agent. Their O-line's a big issue.
Yep.
I mean, they decided not to keep Orlando Brown. Like, there are all sorts of issues, and I don't know. I don't know where they're going to get a left tackle because this has been not just this has been a few years now where they've been really insecure at that key spot. So to me, that's like the number one thing right now is get an O-line.
855-212-4227. I think our biggest disagreement about this Super Bowl, and again, it's your world, Pearl. We're living in it with the Birds are the champs, but how much blame Mahomes deserves for this L at 855-212-4227. It seems like everyone is kind of aligned on our 2 poll questions. Did it feel good to see the Chiefs get crushed in the Super Bowl? 67% say yes. And at Maggie and Perl on X, should the Chiefs' loss in the Super Bowl put a pause on the Mahomes GOAT talk? 79% saying yes, Brady's still the GOAT now. And
Mahomes is 29. I hope people understand that.
Yeah, but we're just saying right now, listen, when Brady was in the same spot that Mahomes was, when he had won 3 Super Bowls but lost to the Giants, there were a lot of people who still thought Joe Montana was the GOAT because Joe had never lost a Super Bowl. So
I think
that's kind of what Mahomes is facing at this current point.
I think there's 2 debates here. Is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT right now? No, of course not. Will he be the GOAT? I think that's an interesting conversation. Like, you have to project forward. I think if people are answering that poll question, is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT now with 3 rings? No, of course not. But do you think he will be? I think it's a different conversation. I think there's a great reason to think he will be. He has an unbelievable chance. He's got many, many years of this left.
So the funny part, though, is the calculus, right? And this sort of math that we do as sports fans. And I'll tell you what I mean, which is Mahomes getting the three-peat. I think for many people, because no one's ever done it, and through all of our eras, in the Super Bowl era, obviously the Green Bay Packers, before the Super Bowl era did it. But the fact that it would have been such rarefied air almost created like a shortcut for Mahomes to get to the top.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't have that. So now if he wants to be compared to Brady, does it have to be 7? Does it have to be 8?
Not even close. Because he's so much more talented than Brady.
But Brady did beat him in an AFC Championship game
no,
and
I know.
Super Bowl.
Brady has those 2 wins.
Yeah.
But I still think, people even compare Aaron Rodgers to Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers has 1 ring. I mean, Mahomes is he's the combination of Brady and Rodgers. He's got all the Rodgers arm talent, and then he's got all the Brady winning and leadership stuff. So I think Mahomes, in my opinion, doesn't have to get to 7. If he wins 6, because the guy, we don't even see it anymore. The guy threw left-handed first downs. He invented the no-look pass. Tom Brady just threw 7-yard passes to Julian Edelman and an occasional 14-yarder to Rob Gronkowski for 20 years and won a bunch of Super Bowls.
Okay, weigh in 855-212-4227. Let's hand out some grades here, Pearl. We're gonna play a little game show music. Now, one of these you may have a little trouble with because you were actually in the stadium last night. But let's hand out a couple grades, and let's start with the halftime show. You didn't get to see all of it.
No, I was in the bathroom line.
We established that an hour ago. You were waiting to use the loo.
Is that information that was not needed?
We probably could have guessed where you were. But from what you did see, grade the halftime show, and also just what you can give us is how did the crowd react to the halftime show? Was it a hit?
Yeah, I would say yes. I would think that the bathroom line, everybody was sort of bopping up and down and dancing. Everybody was into it. Yeah, in the crowd, people were definitely into it. Everybody was rushing to see it. I would give it a B because I need about 4 guest stars to satisfy me because I love the surprise of a guest star. And maybe I'm not even sure who was a guest star, but I need like those Bruno Mars one, like when 14 different acts come out. I need that for an A.
Okay, so SZA did come out. They performed a song together, and I think the person who really kind of, I don't think she stole the show, but Serena Williams doing like the Crip Walk.
Yeah.
Was obviously Serena with yet another W.
What about a New Orleans guest star, like a rapper or somebody?
The NFL doesn't really do that when it comes to the halftime show.
What are you talking about? When Eminem was there, it was a cast of thousands.
No.
Oh, you mean a local?
I'm saying a local. They do that for like Eminem the national anthem.
Dre and
that's true.
Yeah, you're right. But and again, it's just being a little. It's fun to say, oh my God, this person came out. That's the only thing that I was missing. But the performance was really well received. Everybody was getting into it. What's your grade? Sorry.
So I'm going to give it an A-. I think that Kendrick is charismatic enough to carry an entire 12-minute. Mm-hmm. But like when I look at what, for example, J-Lo and Shakira, right?
Yeah.
Or some more sets and bigger and over the top and all of that stuff. It's just very different. Yeah. Did he max out everything he could possibly do? I don't know. He was a little more artistic. He's a little bit more of a deep thinker as a performer. And here's the other part about Kendrick. I think that for probably EJ and Manny and for the younger guys, his catalog fully and all the words and everything. He doesn't have a lot of hits that other people know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Not like us, no doubt. Right, that's the biggest
even the NFL
song.
was playing that. That throughout the stadium, they kept teasing that song.
But in terms of it's also can be a little hard for regular people who aren't artists like he is to sing along to because he's rapping so fast. But again, I sound like the old person now, so I'll give it an A-.
I was thinking of elaborate sets, not everyone loved The Weeknd, but those mirrors and everything. I'm telling you, it used to be a lot harder to load a set. I was surprised he didn't have a little more, I don't know, there was just nothing physically going on except the stage.
Although the everyone creating the American flag was really cool, and then he's at the middle of it, definitely making a political stance there, which is interesting with the president sitting there. But, doesn't have the hits like I'm saying of a Prince or someone that who's just got everything we know and we've been singing for 20 years because he's just a little bit newer of an artist.
Or like Beyonce or something. Sure. I mean, like, yes, that was not happening. But but the crowd was really, really into it. I got to tell you, if there were people who didn't know the songs, I would not have been able to tell that. People did know the songs.
EJ, man, I'm assuming you gave this an A+.
Loved it. It was fun. Yeah. I mean, I think I agree, not as over the top, but if you're a Kendrick fan, I think you would have enjoyed that performance.
Big fan of Kenny.
Okay, how about the commercials? We have not touched on this at all. Perloff, I don't know if you have seen any online or anything like that.
I did see. I have one question about commercial before you guys give your grades.
Yeah.
So I was watching the Fox broadcast and the internet was coming in and out. There was a Harrison Ford Jeep commercial that seemed to last about 12 minutes. And I don't know if my internet was coming in. Did you guys see that one? What was that?
Not memorable. And that's what I would give all these commercials. I'm giving it a D. I thought the commercials were just really bad. Our guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, actually may have had one of the maybe more clever one, and it was Duracell batteries, putting batteries in Brady, and even that wasn't amazing. I thought the theme was putting together actors who we would never put together and hoping they have chemistry, and they didn't.
Like Michael Shannon, and I can't even remember who he is with.
It was Aubrey Plaza, Michael Shannon, and Bad Bunny. What Mad Libs did we just pick this out of? How about Kathleen O'Hara and Willem Dafoe? All right. Drew Barrymore and Orlando Bloom was just painful together.
I just found out Orlando Bloom was British, but go ahead, continue.
You and me both.
Come on. You guys knew Orlando Bloom was British.
No idea.
Stop putting random celebrities together. We don't know why they're there together, and it doesn't seem like they do either.
I did like one I saw where Walter Goggins, the comedic actor, was he's like, I've never driven stick before. Then he drives a NASCAR car into the traffic. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but it was at the end, and people didn't care at that point.
And I don't know if you guys saw my Super Bowl commercial. I thought it was very good as well. All right.
Do you have the perfected Omaha steaks? Can always count on McConaughey. Flying eyebrows, flying mustaches. I wasn't into it. The musician Seal as a seal for Mountain Dew. No
How
thanks.
How about the guy who had the cowboy hat head? What was that?
Yeah, that was rough.
For Tubi,
that was weird.
It was odd, and also, luckily, we get another Jurassic Park. Hooray. I don't even know if Scarlett Johansson can save this.
Avengers Tower's back, though. Shout out to Marvel's Thunderbolts.
Saw that.
Oh, come on. Oh, my God. I was like the death cough of Marvel with that ad. Are you kidding me, EJ?
It didn't sell me, but again, I'm not their target demo. And then finally, Belichick's girlfriend and Belichick in the Dunkin' Donuts ad.
Oh, yeah.
This chick is everywhere.
Yuck. Is it good?
No, it wasn't good. She's got to be careful here.
It's weird.
I don't think she understands the water that she's wading into, or maybe she doesn't care. But what she's doing is bordering on, it feels like, obnoxious. I mean, the outfit was insane on the red carpet, but that's fine. You think you want to, turn some heads. You want to make it about you. Then she's wearing this jacket that she created.
How about the Falcons t-shirt? The Falcons Super Bowl t-shirt she was wearing over the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like you weren't there, so I don't know if you can really
probably in middle school.
He's trolling these fan bases. You showed up 5 seconds ago.
By the way, I heard Belichick was at the Eagles party with me, which is interesting to me. So he's really close to the Eagles, but he's not their head coach. Interesting.
Okay, so that's where we're going to have to leave it. We got to take a quick break. We'll grade the broadcast on the other side. And also, I will have the top 5 moments from last night for all the Chiefs haters. Perloff did his top 5 moments being in the building to watch his Eagles win. I will do the top 5 moments that the Chiefs haters can revel in. And also, we see you guys on the phone today. 855. People like me. 212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break.
AJ's at the bar with a cold, cheap beer. Says Trae Young's no big deal, don't bring him here. But the Knicks lost again, and it's starting to show as he punches the jukebox playing Old Town Road. I'm over Trey, he shouts as he tips his hat, but his phone's buzzing with Hawks game stats. Pickups parked outside, girls waiting to ride, but EJ's ranting about Trey instead of his bride. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trey's living rent free every Knicks lost week. AJ's got a shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trey can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trey can't score no more. I'm over him, he growls as the whiskey pours, but he's watching replays from game before. Small town pride, a Knicks fans fight, but Trey's shadow looms in the neon light. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trey's living rent free every Knicks lost week. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's crying in his beer when the Hawks outplay. Just a small town punk with a lucky streak, but Trey's living about revenge Knicks parade day. Get that Hawks kid out of my town, but he's playing Trey's highlights when no one's around. So here's to EJ with his beer and his pride. His girl's in the rear view, but Trey's on his mind. Small town dreams with big Knicks pain, but Trey Young's the thunder in EJ's rain. Punk with a lucky streak, but Trey Young's the thunder in EJ's rain. EJ's living free every Knicks lost week, but Trey's living rent free in EJ's rain. EJ's got a shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trey can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trey can't score no more. Shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trey can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trey can't score no more. EJ's got a shotgun rack and a pickup truck. Trey can't break my spirit, I don't give a. He's got a girl on the side, but she's feeling ignored, cause EJ's busy yelling Trey can't score no more. Pickups in the drive, girls long gone. Trey's crossover plays and EJ's country song. Out in the sticks with his guns and pride, he swears Trey Young's just a bump in the ride. Pickups in the drive, girls long gone. Trey's crossover plays and EJ's country song. Out in the sticks with his guns and pride, he swears Trey Young's just a bump in the ride. EJ don't care about Trey Young, no way, but he's dreaming about revenge on a Knicks parade day. Get that Hawks kid out of my town, but he's playing Trey's highlights.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Happy Eagles fan here. Andrew Perloff in New Orleans doing the show from our sister station. Was at the game, was at the party. all up in the buffet. I made
Yeah.
I just assume.
No, I didn't like the buffet. There was a lot of vegetarian stuff. That must be a Jeffrey Lurie thing. The food was not good at the Eagles party.
Vegetarian? This is the land of the cheesesteak. What happened?
No, I don't know, but it was really about the booze, to be honest. There were giant bottles of stuff. There was champagne everywhere, which I don't partake in, but everyone else there did.
I'm sure they did. Yeah, and I'm sure, well, you're probably like the only person who actually could see straight walking out of that party, I would imagine. But listen, congrats to the Birds. Congrats to the fans. You guys did it. And not only that, beating the Chiefs with an exclamation point. Go Birds! I mean, really leaving no doubt. This wasn't a squeak by. This wasn't a call. This wasn't a, oh man, just one play here or there. It was utter domination.
Yeah, I mean, the final score obviously does not tell the story at all. It's funny. It reminded me a little bit. Remember Dak Prescott? They lost to the Packers 48-20 something in Dallas. Dak Prescott had 400 yards passing. So years later, you might look at that box score and say it wasn't Dak's fault. That was not the story of that game, and that was not the story of last night. Those points at the end didn't mean anything to me.
No, not at all. It was empty. And yeah, Xavier Worthy had 2 touchdowns in this game. Well, I mean, whole lot of good it did.
He's impressive, though. He was the one sort of heartbeat for the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're right. He actually was he not the only one who showed up to play, but maybe, it's diagnosing what went wrong here from the Chiefs is going to probably have to start days ago, weeks ago, months ago in team building, because you don't just lose this way by accident.
Well, I think the defense showed up to play. I think the tackling on Saquon Barkley was impressive. The tackling percentage was gaudy for the Chiefs. They were getting everybody down on the first tackle. So the effort was there, but eventually even they got worn down a little bit. So I think you have to put it on the offense.
Manny, what's the stat you just said in my ear?
Xavier Worthy, that touchdown is the first touchdown scored by an ex-Texas Longhorn in the history of the Super Bowl.
That is crazy.
I couldn't believe it either.
Wow.
I'm like stunned.
Well, I mean,
listen, there was a couple years recently where you had no Longhorns getting drafted. I mean, it is
try to think of
quite a turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't a lot of great Longhorns on Super Bowl teams. That does kind of make sense. But back in the day, for the Packers or somebody.
Oh, by the way, also Devontae Smith became the first player drafted from Alabama to score in the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
That can't be right.
I'm just true. No Alabama player has ever scored a point in the Super Bowl.
Like Joe Namath didn't sneak it in or anything.
I guess not.
Did
Jalen Hurts played?
Jalen Hurts,
but he's not. He wasn't. Said it's drafted from Alabama.
That's
drafted from Alabama. Nobody's ever.
Well, to be honest, because he transferred to Oklahoma. And this day and age, though, guys go to 4 colleges.
The collective we also just had
as a show.
Bart Starr led the Packers to wins. Never scored a touchdown. Joe Namath followed suit. Never scored a touchdown. Ken Stabler became the 3rd Alabama leads team to a championship. He threw a touchdown, but didn't run for a touchdown.
I can't remember. Did Greg McElroy get a touchdown when he led the Jets to the Super Bowl?
What about A.J.
that's
McCarron?
Right.
I got A.J. McCarron. A.J. McCarron do anything?
He did in
he's
the
doing
USFL.
better than all of us. Have you seen his wife?
A.J. McCarron scored in the XFL championship. Does that count?
Oh, by
Absolutely.
the way, that was another thing of the commercials, which we just graded last segment and gave a D to. UFL. You can't give us the, don't worry, everyone, football's back in 7 weeks. The UFL is here. Please don't.
Especially during a blowout, too. It's like, come on, man, really?
I mean, we're all depressed. Football's over now. I mean, Perloff's happy because his team won, but the rest of us are just like staring into the void of the offseason. We got so long before we get football again. Don't do that, UFL. You're not real football. Just stop. Quickly, Nadal is our pal in Dallas. Nadal, you wanted to congratulate Perloff.
Hey, what up? Good morning, guys. EJ, Manny, the best of the best, the elegant Maggie, and the world-class Andrew. How are you guys doing?
We're great. I mean, Perloff's doing better than all of us, though, combined.
Hey, I know, but props to him. Much love, much respect. I wanted to call in as a Chiefs fan and congratulate you, Perloff. I'm so happy for you. So congrats on the big victory. And I got to tell you, us Chiefs, the Chiefs Kingdom, we're doing okay. Of the thousands and thousands of Chiefs fans in Dallas, and I've been speaking to people back home in KC. We're doing okay just simply because we got dominated, it makes it psychologically easier to deal with. It's like, hey, they deserved it. Congrats to them.
Wait, Nadal, who are you blaming, though? I mean, you're on the doorstep of history, and the team came out flat.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, I don't know what happened. I don't know. If we can explain the Luka trade, maybe we could find the answer why the Chiefs' offense looked so flat. Let me just say it like that.
Wow.
It is that bad. It's like, Kelsey, I think you guys touched on it. A lot of people have touched on it. Kelsey looked like in a daze. He wasn't his heart wasn't in it. I don't think he's going to be back. Mahomes, the offense, Reed. Let's just take it as a wake-up call. We needed this wake-up call. I mean, it's just apparently it's getting to our heads, dominating all these years, whatever. We needed this. So we'll try to be back. Hopefully we will be back next year and take it from there. As far as, by the way, the commercials, that Dunkin' Donuts commercial I liked, but I got to tell you, when does Ben Affleck ever whip out that Boston accent in public? Ever? Do you remember, Maggie, years ago, when I first called in, and I told you my wife is from Boston, and her Boston accent only shows up when she's pissed at me. Remember that?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So that gave me flashbacks to my wife. I'm like, when does Ben Affleck talk like that? Whatever.
He's an actor, Nadal. He's a trained actor. He can turn it on. He can turn it
off. That's right.
He's a pro. Nadal, thank you for the call. I'm so sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Chiefs fans coping, handling it well. Nadal says this is the wake-up call they needed. I'll tell you what, that 15-2 record looks pretty flimsy on this Monday.
They needed a block kick against the Broncos. Like, it was flimsy already. Their point differential was not anything like a Super Bowl champion. By the way, Nadal's like, I'm so happy for you. I would not have been happy for Chiefs fans if the Chiefs beat the Eagles. They're just way too nice.
We know. Let's get to Bogusch. He's got headlines for us. Hey, Bogusch.
Guys, I think they've mentioned this on the broadcast that Saquon Barkley used to be a Giant. The Super Bowl title, the final stop on Saquon's redemption tour, and of course, this is all good news for the Giants' enemy.
6 months ago, I couldn't stand this team. And you know how things work. I'm forever grateful for everything that went on in New York, and got nothing but love for those guys. And hopefully, they're super proud of me and seeing me in this moment.
Maybe the only good thing the Chiefs did yesterday in New Orleans was stop Barkley, just 57 rushing yards, but he did catch 6 passes for 40 yards and threw a couple of key blocks. Jalen Hurts threw 2 touchdowns. The defense smothered KC in this 40-22 route. Super Bowl 59, not that close. EAGLES. The Chiefs didn't score until the final minute of the third quarter. Patrick Mahomes sacked 6 times, gave the ball away 3 times, including a pick 6. Andy Reid's offense, no answers.
Spent a lot of hours doing it as players, as coaches, so it's going to hurt. They all hurt when you get to this level and these things happen. Three-peat aside or any of that stuff, that you get this far and you don't play as well as you want to, it hurts.
Maggie, you called it in our pregame texting that Andy Reid didn't look good pregame, and he didn't coach well.
No, they panned the camera on him, and I said, did Andy Reid have the flu? I know I had the flu, and I got taken down. I thought maybe Andy Reid, I don't know, maybe he took a sip of my coffee or something. I didn't actually see Andy Reid.
It was just weird how muted the Chiefs were going into this game. Like, as they were coming out, my fiance looked at me like, why are they just like walking out? Like even for someone who doesn't watch football, she felt like they looked like they weren't excited to be at the game. Like maybe the three-piece stuff, he said that it didn't matter, but maybe that pressure, like that, it was a mountain on them maybe, because I agree, Andy Reid looked a little off. Kelsey just looked like he was on another planet. I don't know what was going on with him.
And listen, I'm not going to kill guys for this because they've won so much, but they're out to dinner on Friday night with the wife and Taylor, and I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying that they were like not focused. They have won so much that I would sound like a jerk for saying, "Oh, you can't go to dinner." Like, of course you can go to dinner, but were their heads in the game? I don't know. What?
Let's go there. I like it. I like everything you're saying. Come on, he's not focused. He's dating the number 1 pop star in the world. He's going to Australia during the bye week or whatever.
Well, he did all that last year and they won. And he played great in at least the second half.
That's true.
I mean, can you imagine him going out like this? 4 catches in a Super Bowl?
And like looking feeble on the early throws in his direction. It almost like
drops.
For all of them, it was almost like they decided while prepping that the Eagles were better than them. And then when the game started, they were like, oh, crap, like we are in trouble. Like they knew going in that they were in for it. And then it started to happen, and they just didn't know how to get out of it.
Which is crazy, though, because it's not like the Eagles came in as the dynasty. You had just beaten them 2 years ago. I thought this was a better Eagles roster, but Vic Fangio was 0 for 8 against Andy Reid before this.
But you know what's funny, though? And I mentioned it when we were talking last week. We had that experience with Lane Johnson where we spoke to him, and you asked him, like, how you guys feel. And the way he said, we feel really good.
Yeah.
Felt different than just like typical. I'm talking to somebody who feel good. He sounded like a guy that knew they were gonna punch somebody in the face. Yeah, and I don't know. I thought maybe it was false bravado. I was like, he sounded really confident. Like to just tell that to someone who could be a media member because he knows media around. I was a little surprised at how confident he sounded.
I actually said, do you feel good? Because I thought he might have been in an elevator with Maggie at some point. I'm like, how do you feel? Like, do you have a cough? Do you have a tickle in your throat? Because I know that the Maggie curse has been around you.
I'm already feeling faint.
Oh, my gosh.
Three small sample sizes.
Get out of here.
So with the Chiefs losing last night, there still has never been a Super Bowl three-peat. KC is the 9th team to fail, the first one to do it in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts voted MVP. Maybe because there wasn't a single defender to give it to instead. Either way, is 72 rushing yards, the most ever by a QB in the Super Bowl, and he's the first Super Bowl QB to lead both teams in rushing yards. Mahomes' 25 were the most rushing yards for the Chiefs. Now,
how about Milton Williams? Yeah, excuse me. Gosh, my cough. Milton Williams could have gotten it.
Wow, you are a big Milton Williams kick this morning, too. Dude. Is he from Binghamton? Why are you demanding such attention on him?
He's, creating havoc just right in the middle. Dude, was awesome.
Speaking of hometown guys, how about my guy, Jahan Dotson?
Oh, I know.
He grew up right in the housing development that I lived in, the housing community I lived in Nazareth. I saw him. He was taking the bus to high school with my younger brothers, watching him do that every day, and I'm watching him almost score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. That was amazing.
So close.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what his first touchdown score price must have been.
Oh, and the celebration when you thought you hit it?
No.
People know.
It must have been like plus 600 at the minimum, right?
Yeah. So there was an in-house announcing team of Colleen Wolfe, Joe Thomas, and Rondé Barber, and he scores.
The better Barber.
They went to Colleen Wolfe, and she goes, there you have it, the first Super Bowl touchdown. And then you saw the entire Eagles offense. She keeps talking to camera. The offense lines up behind her, and then she goes, oops, my bad, in front of the entire crowd because they were facing away from the field. It was she did an amazing job, by the way. She was fantastic. But she started laughing.
Oops, my bad to 80,000 people.
Yeah. No, she started laughing at Joe Thomas. Like, she handled it wonderfully because actually, like, people were pointing like this to her. Like, look behind you. Jalen Hurts just walked back on the field.
Oops, my bad in front of like the president, Taylor,
she made it,
Hathaway.
Oops,
and by the way, there was, of course, by the way, that in-house announcing team, I must have heard 30 people say, wow, Tiki Barber's out on the field. That happened a million times.
Probably been getting it his whole life.
They're like, our Eagles fans must be booing Tiki. I'm like, no. I mean, we don't like Rondé either, but I like them both. Yeah.
Eagles OC Kellen Moore expected to become the Saints head coach in the very, very, very near future. And Deebo Samuel says the Niners have given him and his rep permission to find a trade. The problem is trading him would leave $31 million dead money on San Francisco's cap. And finally, Maggie, you mentioned back in hour number one, Mavs ownership. Patrick Dumont told the Dallas Morning News over the weekend that Luka Doncic's trade came from Luka's issues with commitment and work ethic. But while making his point, Dumont said true champs, they're the hardest workers. Guys like Jordan, Kobe, Bird, and Shaq, which led the internet to remind him that Shaq was not known for his work ethic.
Yeah, there were a couple seasons there where Shaq maybe played himself into shape.
Yeah.
And there's a reason, I think, why Kobe didn't want to play with Shaq anymore.
There you go.
Yeah, this whole thing. I'm telling you guys, you got to follow it right to the Texas State Legislature.
This guy, by the way, said that unequivocally they're not leaving Dallas.
By the way, second half of the game.
Whatever your flu fever wants to tell you.
Yeah. Maybe I was going to
play on Mars, guys.
Yeah. When the game got out of control, press row, heard 3 Luka conversations. Like, everyone's like, all right, this game's over. Let's talk about the Luka trade. That thing has legs like no NBA story I've heard in a long time.
Well, we get the debut tonight, allegedly. Against Utah.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis being hurt is high comedy. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, it was Aaron Rodgers. It was the same thing. Comes out great, injured.
Well, at least Anthony Davis put up 20 points in the first half. Aaron Rodgers walked out onto the field for 4 snaps, and then he was gone. Oopsie.
Did he complete a pass?
Oopsie, my bad.
Some details. Same
All
thing.
of a sudden, here's Colleen Wolfe. Oops, my bad.
No,
we
that's
love
me to
Colleen.
Colleen.
No,
But
she's great.
Rodgers actually looked awful those first 3 plays before the fourth play when he got hurt.
It was only a matter of time, unfortunately. Okay, we'll get on to that. Bogusch, thank you so much. Coming up, we see you guys on the phones, and also I will give my top 5 moments from last night for all the Chiefs haters to hang your hat on. We'll do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze, country roads.
Congratulations, Philadelphia Eagles. You are Super Bowl champs. Your biggest fan, Andrew Perloff, in New Orleans, still soaking up all that birds flu. No, all that winning. And it was thorough, man. You guys were on top of the Chiefs from, it felt like, not the first drive necessarily, but definitely the second drive. And if that weird A.J. Brown offensive pass interference call doesn't actually get called on that first drive, this could have been even worse.
Yeah, I definitely think the final margin could have been much greater. I think the Eagles started to slow the ball down. There was just, I know Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to take the heat, but there was a full team let down by the Chiefs. I mean, they really didn't do anything right.
Well, we did put a poll question out there for you at Maggie and Pearl on X. Did you like seeing the Chiefs get beat up in the Super Bowl? We were talking about the Chiefs' fatigue and how real it was, and this poll backs that up. 67% of you saying, yeah, it did feel good to see the Chiefs get throttled in the Super Bowl. So with that, I will give you the top 5 moments for Chiefs haters that they can hang their hats on after watching the Chiefs lose. You ready, Pearl?
Hit me.
Okay, number 5 on this list is Taylor Swift getting booed. Now, generally, I think booing is pretty innocuous. Like, it's kind of silly. I'm sure she didn't feel great, but I don't think she had ever gotten booed before, which was part of how stunning this was. She was, like, looking around like, who, me? No, surely no. So 5 on the list for Chiefs haters watching Taylor's reaction to getting booed. Number 4 on the list for Chiefs haters was this moment.
Mahomes is back. He's hit. He fumbles the football. A fight for the ball, and the Eagles have it.
Yes, they do.
They hit Mahomes. It was Jalen Carter who broke down on Mahomes and smashed the ball away.
3rd turnover of the game, a strip sack. What? Of Mahomes? Feels like it never happens. And it happened last night. Number 3 on the list for Chiefs haters to take away from this game. Andy Reid just looking helpless on the sideline. This is one of the greatest coaches we've had in the history of the NFL. He had no answers for his team last night. Number 2 on the list for Chiefs haters to take away from this game. Travis Kelce, if this is the last game he ever plays, this was one of the most disappointing ways you can end what is a Hall of Fame career, a walk-in Hall of Fame career. It is the all-time just like wet fart of a game. 4 catches, not in no way represents his career. And I think he comes back just because you cannot leave on a loser note like this.
I think you're absolutely right.
And the number 1 thing that Chiefs haters can take away from last night's game was this moment.
Back goes Mahomes. He's rushing. He's looking. It's intercepted. Running with the football to the 25. Down the far side is DeJean. And DeJean is in for a touchdown.
Happy birthday, Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean with a pick for a touchdown.
DeJean, Merrill Reese has got it all. Eagles radio had both of those calls. And the fact is, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs were down 10-0. Which felt like something they could easily come back from, Pearl. And then it became 17-0 because of Mahomes' mistake there. You and I will disagree about whose fault it was and all of that and whether Mahomes was just trying to make something happen. But he put his team in a hole that felt insurmountable even at that time, even for such a vaunted team like the Chiefs.
That's a pretty good day for Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, and he got picked off by a rookie.
Oh, my God, on his birthday.
I know.
By the way.
And it was Saquon's birthday, too. Both birthdays.
One quick thing. I tweeted out that Lane Johnson said in his press conference, I'm so happy for my soon-to-be fiance because she got to watch it. Like, what does that mean, Maggie?
Oh, did we get the other proposal? One we weren't expecting?
He said soon-to-be fiance. So she doesn't know that she's a fiance yet? And he's saying it to the press. That was a misspeaking. I mean, you got him a little sick, so I guess that makes sense.
I didn't do anything, and it didn't matter because he played great. I thought Taylor showed up wearing white. And I thought, maybe she thinks she's getting proposed to, but nope, none of that.
So should we go out on a Rocky theme or me just chanting Eagles? It's up to you guys. I mean, what does Manny want?
We're just going to say thank you.
Shut his microphone off.
EJ Stewart, Manny Rodriguez, Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, Weedos and Coffee Drinkers, the callers. You guys were great. Thank you to our sister station in New Orleans for hosting Perloff. Congrats, Pearl.
What are we waiting for?